First off, thank you very much, all of you, for attending. We expected a big crowd, and certainly we have one, and folks are still coming in. Once again, a reminder, if you are in the hall, you'll have a much better opportunity with regards to both audio and especially video, and there still are a few seats remaining here in the council chambers. So I'm Ward 2 Councillor Jason Farr, for those who may not know. Also represented from City Council are Ward 1 Councillor Brian McHattie and Ward 2 Councillor Bernie Morelli, and some of their folks too from those wards are here. They were officially invited, so Wards 1, 2, 3 Town Hall casino debate is what we're dubbing this effort. You'll also see that in attendance is the Ward 14 Councillor Robert Pasuta. Quite obviously, most of you know that Flamborough Downs and Slots is located in Ward 14, and Robert's going to talk about sort of a brief history of slot action and racetrack action specifically in a few moments as well. Very pleased to see that our mayor, who was just back from now, I guess, the Good Shepherd dinner, has graciously joined us. He'll speak to you too in a few moments. And there's another mayor in attendance here tonight who has a presentation for you as well from the city of Brantford. And I'm wondering if maybe you could put your hands together for Mayor Chris Friel. We also have Rochelle Martin, who is a crisis mental health nurse in the city of Brantford. She actually is a Hamiltonian who works in crisis mental health in Brantford, and she'll be speaking to the casino issue as well tonight following Mayor Friel. So a big hand for Rochelle. And I thank you both. Your comments are going to be important to us as we head towards what will be, I'm sure, an exciting portion, the final portion. The bulk of our time tonight is listening and hearing from all of you. So I'm just curious off the top, if I could get a show of hands on who might be interested in spending a minute or two on the microphone tonight to tell us how you feel. Okay, so I think we're going to be able to squeeze you all in. I certainly hope so. If we start seeing some repetition with respect to specific comments, still feel free to come up and make your comments and reinforce comments that we may have already heard, but let's try to be privy to time, given that we do have an agenda that goes until only 10 o'clock this evening, and we're also starting late, quite obviously. I don't need to tell, obviously, anybody in this room either that we're hoping for some decorum and a courteous effort on both sides of this issue tonight from whoever is speaking, and I'm certain that that's the way this will unfold. So once again, thank you again very much for coming. And I'm just going to begin with a quick PowerPoint presentation. You can check your screens to the left and right or the middle screen here at Council Chambers. We'll start with the first slide. And that's these questions. And it's the primary reason for being here tonight. And you'll see the word casino and you'll see the word downtown together in the second question. And some may be asking, well, why? It's a little early. What does this have to do with anything? I thought engagement to be very crucial about a month ago, even more so, with folks just talking to me on the street or sending in the emails. And as time progressed, about 3 weeks ago, I couldn't stop hearing the word casino and the word downtown in the same sentence. And I thought it's time to talk about the issue openly and offer up whatever engagement we can offer. So I started asking the question, these important questions: do you support a casino in Hamilton, and do you support a casino in the downtown? Now, why would I be asking that question when on April the 11th, 2012, Councillor Partridge moved a motion, 8.1 in a GIC, that was confirmation of Hamilton City Council's support for Flamborough Downs slot and racetrack. That was a two-part motion that had a whole bunch of whereases, but it concluded with A, that Hamilton City Council confirms its support for Flamborough Downs slots and racetrack, Great Canadian Gaming Corporation, the Ontario Horse Race Industry Association, and other affiliated associations, as well as the local area farms and businesses, and B, that notwithstanding discussions about any other gambling facilities in Hamilton, the existing Flamborough Downs facility remains Council's #1 priority. That was a unanimous vote. That was supported unanimously by this Council and our Mayor, notwithstanding other discussions. So the OLG conditions, for those who may not know, They want a yes or a no, and they want it by year's end. We heard a media report yesterday after a press conference by our Ontario NDP leader that there was a deadline of December the 12th. That's not the case. The OLG has said by the end of the year. December 12th is actually our last committee meeting where we could have a full-fledged council debate along with our mayor. That said, that doesn't stop us from having what we've had before, emergency sessions featuring all of council and our mayor, and we can do that before the end of the year and still remain in the confines of the OLD condition to that end. They're doing this because they want to put their RFPs out by the fall or early 2013, and those requests for proposals will be from private operators. So our questions from a recent GIC, a General Issues Committee, when all of council gets together, it's like council, but it's pre-council meetings. We had some important ones, and number one up on the screen is how much time officially does Hamilton have to say we're open to a gaming facility at a location other than Flamborough? And the OLG responded with this. The OLG would be willing to work cooperatively with council or its subcommittee and would allow them time to hold a public session and deliberate as a council until the end of the year. We would need some type of indication, says the OLG, from Hamilton before we issue an RFP. Question two, given that we have had sites that are already zoned downtown for a casino use, how do we control the location outcome? Does council still have the ability to veto a potential location choice? To which the OLG responded, council can do what it wishes within their jurisdiction to control the outcome of any site location. They talked about you can worry about your zoning and your permits and your special approvals and clauses and resolutions. That's all stuff that council can do. It can pass a resolution that Hamilton is open for private sector bidders to proceed to put proposals together in Hamilton contingent that council will only provide approval through another resolution when it is satisfied that they like the final outcome on location. OLG and the provincial government retain all final approvals of the selected vendor and final approval of the plan to move ahead in any municipality, and that's those zones that they've created and they continue to tweak. So our city's question to the OLG, question three, are regional boundaries for casinos still subject to change? And I've just answered that. Yes, they are. This depends on the community's positions on casinos. So for example, Hamilton says no to a casino. They may now want to bring another area that borders the current zone a little closer to home, or vice versa, further away. So some of the things that I've been hearing, and again, I really appreciate in advance what we'll hear from you this evening. But what initiated this town hall was a lot of important comments from both sides over the course of, like I say, 4 to 6 weeks, since we've really been talking a lot about the casino issue in this great city. And it's interesting, I thought I'd put this up to show some of the compare and contrast and the parallels and the juxtaposing of positions, but on specific issues. So from those who are supportive of a casino, you got a lot of emails and comments on the street about, well, they're great because it means jobs, it's employment creation. But to that point, if you go over to the right, I hear a lot of people who are not necessarily in favor of a casino, or specifically a casino in downtown Hamilton, saying, but they're minimum wage jobs. They're not great jobs. I hear on the pro side, well, this is going to attract new business to the core. And then on that point, on the con side, but that's at the expense of other local businesses. I've heard that a lot, that it would actually suck away business from existing local business. On the financial benefit to the local economy, on the pro side, I've heard that. But then you hear there's an increase in there's a bigger social impact. There's an increase in gambling addiction if we bring a casino in. And that costs money too. So on an economic standpoint, there's a loss. I hear on the pro side, it's going to help revitalize the core. This one I probably hear on the con side more, I've heard more than anything, in all forms of solicitation, that would actually mean we're moving in the wrong direction from the con side. That the core is already in this movement of revitalization, and that would stymie this movement. And arts and culture are often featured in those commentaries. So I've been busy with some surveys. You've been busy helping us compile with your comments. And there's been different surveys going on. Just in general, there's been 41 plus phone calls that have come to the office. There's been, well over, after today, 160 emails. We put this slide together last night. On the web, many of you, I'm sure, took part in the web survey. There was 350 plus web survey results. Many of you were kind enough when you emailed your comments and thoughts and expanded on the web survey, mentioned that you did take part in the web survey, and that's much appreciated. Then we did the automated calls, and this was the result of the automated phone survey exclusive to Ward 2 residents in Hamilton. Okay, so the opinion poll regarding the Hamilton Casino proposal, universe size, all numbers available to Ward 2 sample size, first question, 443 Ward 2 residents responded. There's about 7,000 folks that they could draw from, the folks that did this survey, and 443 actually decided to take part in this automated phone survey in Ward 2. Statistically, the margin of error in what is deemed scientific is 4.7, with a confidence level of 95% accuracy, or 19 times out of 20. And these survey results, again, were conducted over 2 evenings and exclusive to Ward 2. First question, and I want to point out too, there's 3 questions. I gave a general synopsis of where we wanted to go with the questions, but the company that put this poll together and actually conducted the poll actually form-fitted the words. They were responsible for the order of the questions, and they were responsible for the wordage you see up here. And it has a lot to do with their experience, and you don't want to, when you do these things, I guess, skew results or push the answer in any one direction. They have to be neutral to the best of their ability, I guess. So question one was, do you support the opening of a casino in the city of Hamilton? And of 443 people for question 1 that responded in Ward 2, 240 or 54.18% did support the opening of a casino in the city of Hamilton. They said yes. 154 said no, that's 34.76%, and 49 or 11.06% were undecided. Now with that, we move on to the next question and take away the 154 and the 49. We now are only talking to 240 people with question 2. Do you support a casino locating in the downtown core of Hamilton? 188 or 68.12% said yes. 49 said no, 17.75%, and 39 were undecided. Then we went to question 3, and now the no and the undecided answer question 3. Do you support a casino locating elsewhere in the city of Hamilton? So these are the ones that said no or undecided. 51% said, or 51 or 60% said yes, 6 or 7.6% said no, and 28 or 32.94% were undecided. Other things that have been going on with respect to this issue. Yesterday at 10 a.m. right here in these chambers, our NDP leader of Ontario, Andrea Horwath, held a press conference. She called on the provincial government to hit the pause button on its massive modernization of gaming in Ontario to allow cities across the province to hold referendums. Many of you who are engaged will recall, I think it was Councillor Sam Marula, who had a notice of motion for a while floating around for us to deliberate on with respect to doing just that, to wait until we can have a bona fide referendum and do that during the 2014 election. And one of the reasons, and one of the big reasons for that is it's a very expensive prospect, and if we're having a vote on elected officials, it makes sense to hold a referendum at what would be otherwise a cost of, that we hear quotes of around $1 million to do it other than during election time. Andrea said this is the responsibility of the provincial government to ensure that a proper process takes place. So what Ms. Horwath is looking at doing is putting a motion forward and hopeful, I guess, for support from not only the Ontario NDP, but also the Conservatives. That's where that's at. Our Mayor, Bob Bertina, who's here tonight, and he'll speak to you in just a minute, put a motion forward not long ago, I think it was about 3 weeks ago, suggesting that we needed a city's gaming subcommittee, which was unanimously, I believe, approved, or maybe there was one who didn't approve around our council chamber. And then we took some members in open session, offering to sit on our city's gaming subcommittee were Councillors Robert Pasuta, Councillor Sam Marula, Councillor Terry Whitehead, and Councillor Judy Partridge. And their first committee meeting was just the other day on Tuesday, October 9th. And from that, which you've probably read in the papers or the blogs, they've come up with a two-prong approach of a scientific phone survey by polling and a series of community forums like this, a town hall. It's great input that they're looking for, and it's a great approach, I think, a two-pronged approach over the coming months. Keeping in mind when you look at this slide that the OLG deadline is at the end of this year. Thank you. So I have one more quick announcement before we go to Mayor Friel of Brantford, who also has a PowerPoint presentation for you. If you didn't see these in the hall, I'm hoping that you'll take the time, take a break or sometime before, let's say 9, to fill this out. And this is our casino town hall vote card. So one more form of engagement from wards 1, 2, and 3, where you'll fill out your name, your address, your postal code, your email if you have one, or phone number, and it says as well to fill out the ward that you're from. Please fill out just one. We're going to try to tally these up before we leave tonight. And it asks you two questions. Do you support a casino locating in downtown? And do you support a casino locating elsewhere in Hamilton? Once again, thank you all for coming. And our first official speaker of this evening is out of Brantford, Ontario. I often think of Brantford as a sister city to Hamilton. It's so close, and we're always so friendly. And if we claim that we're sisters, then maybe we can claim Gretzky as well here in the city. We certainly have claimed his father, I think, time and time again, that's for sure. He was first elected to Brantford Council in 1994, and he reigned in Brantford as mayor until 2003. He was re-elected in 2010, and, well, I'll let him talk about where he was then on a casino, where he is now on a casino, ladies and gentlemen, Mayor Chris Friel.
Going to, actually the sister city is a nice concept, and as a Ticap fan, I come here often. We had the Bulldogs in Brantford on Monday night. They lost, but that's okay. We still love them. I am not going to come, and I am not here to tell or have an opinion one way or the other whether you should have a casino or not. What I've done for a number of communities in the province of Ontario is to highlight our case study, which is something that we have measured to the nth degree, I can tell you. And Brantford was one of the original 4 charity casino communities. And I was mayor when the casino came in. I will tell you that I was vehemently opposed to having a casino in the community. A lot of people would expect that it was for many of the reasons that I'm sure that you are here for. But the truth is that the bulk of my opposition was because of economic development reasons. Meaning, we were a community like Hamilton, Cambridge, communities of our size that were very industrialized, that went through a process of deindustrialization. So our major industries, the one that built our communities, slowly started to leave, they started to change, and we had to reinvent ourselves. People came back and determined that if we had a casino, everything was going to be better. The truth is if you look at how casinos operate, that is not the case. They are like a business in your community, pretty much like any other industry by way of jobs, etc. But it is not the economic development linchpin that will survive or save your community. And far too many communities believe that, and it's not the case. What I try to explain to other communities, other mayors that I've spoken to, we've had North Bay came to visit, I've spoken with Kenora, Kingston, we've Belleville. There's been a number of communities that we've spoken with. What I've tried to get across is create realistic expectations. And realistic expectations are probably the most important part. So my opposition, I voted against the casino. I can tell you that I have been in the Casino Brantford 3 times. 2 of them were for openings. I'm not a gambler. It's just not my thing. I don't go because I don't have any interest in it. But it's not by any opposition other than that. The other time was because I was invited for a lunch because they just redid their kitchen. So 2 openings and an opening of a kitchen. It's important to understand, too, because I know a big part of your debate is about geography. So this is the city of Brantford. We're surrounded by the city of the county of Brant, which is another story. But if you can see in the heart of that area, that is, I'm guessing this, there it is, right in that area, that is basically our BIA or our downtown area. It's called the Urban Growth Center. So the casino is in basically the center of the city. It was in a building that was already built, which was part of a telecommunications museum. Bell Canada pulled out on us at the last moment. We had an empty building with a single purpose. You'll see a picture of it in a second. You'll get an idea of why we had a lot of problems with it. So in relationship to our downtown, City Hall is up here. This is the historic Victoria Square, laid out in the Union Jack. That was actually done in the 1840s. Harmony Square is here, which is another key. This was built years after the Sanderson Center. And then the casino is, sorry if I just lasered you out there in the gallery. The casino is located in this area. What's significant is this is a major road, 4-lane divided road. With the topography, you barely get an idea of it. This is about from the road area to the bottom of that slope is about 7 stories to the bottom. So you get an idea. There is a massive embankment along there where there used to be buildings. Actually, the future YMCA Laurier Recreational Center is being, its $54 million project is going right there, built into the slope. So the casino is actually separated from the downtown. And it is important to note because everybody said the casino is going to save your downtown. And I said at the time, it doesn't work like that. What happens is if you're a gambler or you're a gamer, you drive to the casino, they don't want you to leave, although the philosophy is changing now. They don't want you to know what time of day it is. And that's the truth. But if you go into a lot of the casinos now, the philosophy's changed where they're actually opening up windows into the streetscape in places like Vegas, Atlantic City. They've recognized that if you're coming to game, you're coming to game. So it wasn't going to have a great deal of impact. I will note for as well, there's a massive area right here, which is a very large shopping complex, which was an abandoned brownfield property before the casino happened. This is all built up, Boston Pizza, LCBO, grocery store, etc. But it actually services this residential area, which also developed during the last 10 years. Brantford was the 11th fastest growing community in Canada between the last 2 census. And it was predominantly to that population. These individuals are driving up, and they're the ones who are driving that economic development. Did the casino have a reason for it to be there? Maybe the Tim Hortons across the road, people picking one up on the way home. Otherwise, no, but it didn't hurt it either. So people aren't saying, I'm not going to shop there because the casino's next door. So let's just take a look. There's our building. You can understand why we had a hard time dealing with it after it was there, because it's really a single-purpose building. It's perfect for a casino, though. So it opened in 1999. See the size. The number of tables, 55. Number of slots, 539. Number of employees is 905. And I will note that anybody, I'm actually quite hostile, just to be honest, when somebody looks down their nose at any kind of job, because those 905 jobs are a secondary job, possibly, or I know a number of couples who work in that environment. It puts food on somebody's table. There is no such thing as a bad job. And it bothers me when I see people looking down their noses because you get benefits. They are not fully minimum wage jobs. They develop over a period of time, and the turnover in our casino is very low. People like working there. So understand just the nature of that. You have to get an idea. The number of visits to date, 19.9 million, which is significant. Now, we were, as a charity casino, we were one of the first. Nobody wanted us in the beginning of the 4 because we weren't on the border. We were interior. Nobody thought we were going to be successful. So they didn't want us. But what happened was we had a broad regional area that we started to pull from, so we became very successful, and we are one of the most successful casinos in Ontario. Unfortunately, we don't realize a lot of the money from the success because we get 5% of slot machine revenue gross after payout. We don't get anything from the tables, and we have a massive table or a poker room, which is significant. So we don't realize any money from that, but it does drive a lot of the casino. I'm going to give you an idea of some of the things that we built with the money. It works out to, I just pulled this number up, just give me a second. We received so far to the end of April 2012 from our 5%, $48,668,444. And we have made a couple conscious decisions in the beginning. And one of the conscious decisions, because we weren't going to go into economic development discussions, one of the conscious decisions was we do not put our casino dollars into operating. Nobody is funded, no job is funded out of operating. It does not happen. We use this money to invest in the community again. So we built Harmony Square, which was, as I showed you on the map earlier, it's a civic area. It is very successful, very popular in the community, and completely reinvented the downtown. We also used the casino dollars in the beginning to invite first Laurier, who started with 39 students 11 years ago, now 12, one building. They have 22 buildings between them and Laurier, or between them and Nipissing, 22 buildings and just short of 3,000 students. And we've been able to attract, Mohawk College has moved its campus downtown, and this past September, Conestoga College opened up in downtown Brantford as well. McMaster is moving to the hospital, but we have 4. And I will tell you that the success of Nipissing, Laurier, which was this building opened last year, it's 2 parts, $48 million or $45 million investment in total between the 2 components. This is an entire block. The casino did virtually nothing to change our downtown. The dollars from the casino and how we invested them made all the difference in the world, built post-secondary institutions downtown, and have completely revitalized our downtown. Completely. If you've seen Brantford 10 years ago and that's the vision you have in your head, that's not what it is now. And we have more communities come to visit us to look at our downtown than talk to us about the casino. So that was one building. We also invested dollars, this is a social housing project, very heavily into people with disabilities. Very accessible building. It's a nice investment, actually. This is the latest development. This is the old Expositor building, which was the newspaper. They moved up because print is dead, so they moved up into a strip mall in the north end. And this building sat empty, and sorry for the media guys that are sitting there. But I'll get good reviews now. But this building was built in 1880, and a local developer purchased this building. There are now 268 student beds. We invested from our facade program and money that we put into the downtown, $11 million project, we put in about $450,000. And the idea was that we restored the facade of the historic building. He designed the building so that it was a glass frame that went around the outside of it. This is the Wayne Gretzky Sports Center. The arenas have been completed, which is on the right. The middle piece is just in its final stage. It's going to have a 25-meter lap pool and an Olympic-sized pool. We had money with the province, but we needed the final $8 million to make sure that we would finish it appropriately, and we were able to use that money from the casino dollars. This relates to, and there's a lot of discussion around policing. This came directly from my chief of police, who I asked for numbers in June, and I said, I don't want a value statement. What I'm looking for is just straight up numbers. Give me the numbers that are related to casino calls. Casino calls in the city of Brantford are anything where casino is mentioned. So any call, so you have a domestic, one individual is upset because the other individual, in a litany of reasons why they're upset with them, goes to the casino too often, automatically that's a casino call. So we're remarkably conservative in how we list our casino calls. Very conservative, and we've been strict about it. So what you can see is from 2006 to 2011, in 2006, we had 421 calls. So far in 2012, we're about 80. And the decline has to do more with the improvement of the area, very heavily policed on site. So we don't have to worry about that element of what goes on. Other issues related to casinos that people want to bring up right away: prostitution, non-existent. Prostitution that we have in our community is more related to drug problems than gambling. You're not getting, and I don't want this to sound funny because it's matter of fact, we're not talking about high-end escorts. We're talking about desperate drug addicts. That's where the prostitution is. And so you have that idea. Has it increased? No. Bigger problems that we would deal with, has there been an increase in organized crime, anything like that? Not really. But when you invite tens of millions of people into your community, a lot of them from Toronto, you're going to invite an element that might not be the best element. So like other communities in Southern Ontario, particularly Southwestern Ontario, we're dealing with drug problems that are from here to Windsor. And we're all in the same kind of category. And while I'm here, I'm also saying that the province of Ontario should be investing not as much money in these high-profile gang situations in Toronto, which are one-offs, but long-term drug issues in all of our communities that are causing structural problems, breaking down families. That's the bigger problem in the province of Ontario, and they should be dealing with it. And I'm not running for office. I just really honestly believe that. So here are some of the initiatives in which we have spent our $48,668,444, our 5%. So we've invested about $14 million in the downtown. Our $14 million investment now translates to $120 million. We invested $14 million, post-secondary and the private sector have invested $120 million. We put money into our healthcare, being able to track doctors. We did do policing in the beginning, wasn't necessary over the long term. We built a visitor and tourism center, the Wayne Gretzky Sports Center, as I said. We put, off the top of all of the money we receive, $500,000 a year goes to our community foundation, the Brantford Community Foundation. Brantford Community Foundation, and I'll just get the numbers quickly, between 2001 and 2012 has given out just over $3,500, 937 grants to community organizations. And every quarter we hand out the money. It is a very worthwhile program. And all the discussions I've had with casino mayors, or where there's a casino, that's the one that generates the most interest. People like to be able to see that. It offsets a lot of the issues that charitable organizations deal with. I mean, it's not a lot of bingo anymore. In Nevada is not so much of an issue. We did a waterfront master plan. We rebuilt our home for the aged, which is what the municipal title is, so John Noble Home. We built a youth resource center. We've been dealing with brownfields, and we put some money into capital, which is very rare, which is roads and bridges. So overall, have there been negatives? Absolutely. You're not going to have something like this in your community without a negative component. One of the things related to addiction that is important is between the last reporting years for the addiction service in our community, which is run by St. Leonard's, but within that reporting year, they had 64 individuals that reported, which is their first line, as one of their addictions. Not one of those individuals did not have a cross addiction, and quite honestly, and this is anecdotal only, but there's a bigger problem with gambling related to scratch tickets than there is with going to the casino. That's a big issue. You should look at the other parts of the OLG's modernization plan outside of the casino, because there's all this other stuff that's going on that nobody knows, nobody's talking about anyways. So there are certainly have been problems, and I'm not going to pretend that there aren't. I want to make it clear that in your discussion, whether you have it in the downtown or not, our casino has had virtually no impact on the downtown. I only say that because we can demonstrate we know what the evidence is. The dollars that we receive from it, what we've done with the dollars, how we've invested it, is what's been significant. And that's the most important part. Now, having said that, as I said to the councillor at the beginning, is when I was in opposition to this, I wouldn't sign the documents. They had to call the mayor of the month in or the acting mayor in to sign. I wouldn't cut the ribbon when Ron Barbaro was the head. He couldn't figure out how he was going to do it. We were on a stage when they opened the casino. And while he was standing up there saying he thought he had me trapped on the stage, I just walked off the back and through the curtains because I wasn't going to cut the ribbon. I said I wasn't. So as a mayor who was in opposition at that time, I would love more than anything in the world to stand here and say, I told you so. It was wrong. It destroyed the community. I told you so. But it hasn't. And I have to be honest about it. The social problems in the beginning, you will feel more effect. It levels off over a period of time. There will be people's lives who will be ruined. But it will happen in your community or it will happen in an adjacent community. Lots of those things, you have to understand that that's going to happen. So you need to be able to have the social safety net that's going to go along with it. And outside of it, have realistic expectations. It is not going to be the most wonderful thing. Consider your casino, or a casino of the size that would go into Hamilton, and the fact that there are going to be 30+ casinos across the province of Ontario. It will have an impact, but it is not going to make you a little Vegas. It is not going to make you a little Atlantic City. And you have to have realistic expectations about this. This is the part that the OLG hates when I say. But it's not. You have to have realistic expectations about what you can realize and the dollar values that you're going to bring into the community. It's all about how you use it. The one thing I will wade into is people can sit here and go, okay, well, Brantford, you're a smaller community, how does it relate? We are 96,000 people. We're bigger than most of you thought. So we're 96,000 people. We are, about 1/5 of your total population for the entire area of Hamilton right now. We're a pretty reasonable case study. Our communities are very similar. We had many of the same issues. So we are for you a very good case study. So you can recognize that, you can identify that what we're dealing with or what's happened to us is important. Andrew Horvath can come here and talk about a referendum. $1 million for a referendum is something that our 4 communities have already had it. There are 29 communities in the province of Ontario that have casinos right now. Not one time in this last year and a half, when all this has been going on, modernization, not one time did I hear a mayor who has a casino in his community or her community say, thank God you're closing my casino. Not one. The ones who did have their racetracks or their racinos closed were horrified and fought. Not one. That is the referendum. We've done it in our community, and it was remarkably close to what your phone poll was, about 54% in favor. So we've done that. It's been done in 4 communities. I don't know if I would expend the dollars to go through it, and I would think that you have the opportunity to draw it out otherwise or in another form. That's my 2 cents. So having said that, I think that's my last slide. And I more than likely went completely over my time frame, but I am a mayor. That's what we do. So I'd like to thank you for the invitation to come, and I'm willing to answer any questions. Sure, I can answer some expression in people's minds.
Why don't we take, we want to make sure we give everybody an opportunity. Okay, come on down to this podium over here. Anybody else want to ask Mayor Friel a question specific to his presentation? Come on down. Graham, come on down, and I'll take one more. Okay, you. So there's 4. If you don't get to ask the mayor a question, and if the mayor has to leave, that's okay too. I didn't commit him till 10 o'clock. But you want to make a comment later, you'll have an opportunity to do so with the comments. We have 4 questions. Just introduce yourself and fire away.
Hi, my name is Donna McNabb. I live in Ward 2. I don't think that we need to, we're looking at arguments for or against a casino. We don't need to look, I've never heard anyone put forth an argument that wasn't financial or economic. You can't say that it's going to improve our social structure, it's not going to improve our living quality of life. It's not going to make Hamilton a better place to raise children. So I'm looking at strictly the financial end of it. And I believe that the market in Ontario is saturated. I think that you've got the gamblers out there, you've got the gamers out there, and they're going to Brantford, and they're going to Niagara Falls, and they're going to Rama, and they're going to Windsor, whatever. I have a question for you. Do you know from where you draw your gamblers?
Oh yeah, it's measured to the individual, to the hour. They know exactly where. So,
I mean, are you drawing anyone from outside of Ontario? You're drawing anyone from the States?
No, but we're not. We're an interior, as I said in the beginning, we were, of the four, we were the one that nobody wanted because we were interior, and everybody else was on the borders. So with border dollar values, all that kind of stuff, the Americans were flocking across the casinos, Thunder Bay, Sault Ste. Marie, Point Edward. And we did well, but over a period of time, what we started to do was pull from broader areas. So we are predominantly a regional casino, and that is always been what we are. And they're very strong regional casinos in the United States. And it's the same concept. They draw from a particular area within a certain amount of drive time.
Aren't you afraid by putting forth in a fairly strong fashion the benefits of having a casino, that if Hamilton has a casino, we're going to draw some of your gamers away?
Well, it's interesting because what will happen is we have a degree of, and you learn a lot about gambling. What will happen is we have a degree of loyalty from our individuals. So when this modernization process goes on, we're going to have a private sector company that will come in and bid for us. And we've had a number of private sector companies that have already come because of our geography, because of our success already. So they've said, all of them have said the same thing. We'll see a drop in the beginning, but the loyalty will bring them back again. We are, as I said, we're very large in tables, larger than any of the other original charity casinos. I can't say that anymore because we're not, but we're very large, but very strong in poker. Like when I went to visit the opening, I was there at 10 o'clock in the morning, and there was 50 full tables.
So to beat you, we're going to have to be even stronger. I would just want to issue a warning to the city of Hamilton. Where the blazes do you think you're going to draw your gamers from? We're surrounded by casinos as it is, and you know, I can't see that we're going to draw people away too much from Niagara Falls, from Brantford, from Rama. We'd have to be something special to do that. Being surrounded as we are, I don't know where they're going to come from, and I really believe that the market is saturated. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your question.
I agree with you on the saturated market part, tell you the truth, but explain that to the OLG.
Next question, one question. If you want to come up and make comments later, you can do that too, okay?
John Neary from Beasley neighborhood in downtown Hamilton. Thank you, Mayor, for your presentation. I guess this is similar to the previous question. You're a city of 94,000 people that so far has had a fair monopoly on the market for a casino within the interior of Ontario. So the economics work don't the economics work much better for you there than they would for us, a city 5 times the size with fewer people to draw from the surrounding area to bring money into Hamilton?
What you will draw from is your immediate area, but you will find that gamers is video games. Gamblers will travel like they do. I can see buses on Saturdays and Sundays at the grocery store around the corner from me that are going to Rama. Individuals also will go to Niagara. They will go as part of a trip. What you will find is the demographic of gamblers in the province of Ontario generally is in their early 50s. And they will spend, and which is bugs the OLG, by the way. That's part of the modernization stuff that everybody should be looking at. But in the early 50s, and the average that they'll spend on a night out or a gaming experience is about $50. So what you get, which is what I have I have friends who gamble who really enjoy it. It's their hobby. It's what they do. You know, some people. But so this is what they'll go out and do, and they win it or lose. That's what they spend. So the stories, there are anecdotal stories of people losing everything. And quite honestly, I can tell you that I know of stories where people have done that. But the one that I know that was a friend of mine from high school was out of Vegas. It wasn't coming into Brantford. And he was here while it was there, but the casino was there, but it wasn't where he was going. So you'll draw from a particular area. You'll get a certain amount of loyalty from individuals who will be there. You will pull from other areas. They just like it. And then that'll be your market. It is not, you're not going to be a little Vegas. You're not going to have a second casino going to open up. You're not going to have all of these other things that are going to happen. It's just, it's a contained market, and there's only a certain amount. You will see a lot of movement once these casinos start to open up, because some of, and why they're talking, modernization means getting the casinos to where the customers are. So some of these racinos are in the middle of nowhere, and they aren't drawing people. Strangely enough, Flamborough is one of the most successful. And you have a good operator too, and Great Canadian. So that makes a big difference. But there's a lot of these racinos that aren't going to be valued very highly, and more than likely will close at some point. I think the province thinks it's going to happen by market forces. They just don't want to be responsible for it.
Okay, next question. Introduce yourself.
My name is Michelle Harushka. I am SCRAP, Steel City Rising Against Poverty. So in listening to your speech, Mr. Briel? Briel? Okay, so I know a little bit of the labor history in Brantford. So not too long ago, the unionized workers at the casino were on strike because of the temp workers that are being brought in. So that's a fallacy when you're saying that any job is a good job, when the jobs are temp jobs and the workers have no rights and can be terminated with at any time, have no access to severance, benefits, pensions, and so on. So that's a little bit of a stretch on that one. And also you made a note on the social safety net for those who may have gambling addictions. So can you please tell me that the social safety net in this country is being slowly dismantled? EI is being dismantled. Actually, in January, the community startup benefit and discretionary benefits for those on OW will be eradicated. So those struggling in poverty who have no jobs, this concept of deindustrialization, where good manufacturing jobs have been lost, was not made by the people of this country, this city, or this province, but by the unforeseen, faceless corporate bodies who have they don't care about what's going on. So that's what I got to say. So for me, myself, my opinion, no casino in downtown Hamilton, no casino in Hamilton, period.
Those 905 jobs are full-time. The strike was more related to pay and some other issues. Didn't have a great deal to do with anything related to temporary. This is a service industry, and it's highly regulated service industry. Temporary employees do not go on the floor. They're not gambling. They can't even serve. If somebody was coming in, coat check, something like that, that's the truth. But 905 jobs with benefits, and reasonable salaries, and that is the case. Social safety net, it's outside of my bailiwick.
Okay.
Hi there, Scott Tibbetts, resident here of Ward 2. My question is, out of that $48 million you had, how many addiction and mental health centers have been opened with that money? I see more money going to the Wayne Gretzky Center than I see addiction and mental health being put forward. Here in Hamilton, we don't need any more addiction and mental health problems other than what we have. We need to deal with the problems that we have, and I also oppose this casino here.
Outside of the other part, I mean, the addiction, and we are in the process now of discussing with our member of provincial parliament, who's also the Speaker of the House, Dave Levac, started a program to deal with addiction services. Our addiction services, our immediate and real need has a great deal to do with addictions related to alcohol and drugs. and we recognize where that's coming from. An incredible amount of our crime is directly related to drug addiction. Are we doing enough as a community? Nope, but we are well on our way to being able to try and manage that. And we've also been in discussions. I'm a firm believer that things like a methadone clinic downtown run by the private sector is not right. What we should be doing is taking addiction services of all sorts and putting it into the healthcare system. Mental health is a problem that the Canadians, actually in North America, but Canadians do not want to recognize the problems that we experience as a society because of mental health issues. And we have to deal with this on a daily basis, and there are virtually no tools available to us to be able to do it. And it's ridiculous, the absolutely paltry sum of money that Canada and the province of Ontario puts into mental health issues. It is just, I was going to say mind-boggling, but it is absolutely disgraceful that we are still not putting the dollars into where we need to put them, and something that relates to mental health. And we do put a lot of our community grants, quite a few of them, go into services that are related to social programming like that.
Okay. I'm going to take 2 more questions, and I think that covers those who raised their hands. We need to keep the evening moving, and as I noted, I would take 4. We'll take 5. And save your questions or your comments for the comment portion. We still have plenty of time, and we want to keep the evening moving. So next speaker. 1 question.
Thank you, Mayor Priel, for coming here. I do want to just confirm something. You said that you don't receive any revenues from the tables. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And how was that negotiated?
There's 4 mayors, and we spent months and months and months hammering away at it was Duncan Brown, I think, who was the head of the AGCO at the time, and Chris Hodgson was the minister. And we kept pounding away saying, we need money for policing, we need this. They didn't know what the numbers were going to be. We didn't know what the numbers were going to be. We said, you got to give us something. You got to give us something. Pay for our policing, pay for this, pay for that. And I remember Chris Hodgson, I was in a meeting of the Grand River Conservation Authority, called and said, you're getting 5% slot machine revenue, gross after payout. That's it. That's all you're getting. We're not negotiating anymore. And quite honestly, all 4 of us, the 4 mayors, talked within an hour after that, and all of us went, okay, that's actually pretty good. Like, we're pretty reasonable. And that's on to, I think it's the 450 machines, and then you receive 2% on what comes afterwards. So the new formula, which is being proposed right now, is got some different modeling based on the private sector having a role. But when we've done the numbers on the new formula, we come out just a little bit ahead.
So your sense is you're going to make either a greater percentage or greater revenue because of total increase in revenue?
Greater revenue. The percentage work out to a different amount, but it's not. Honestly, it's not a huge sum, but it is in the positive.
Okay, because I really just want to ask. I don't know how you got 5%. Maybe it was better negotiating than us, but if we got 5% based on the numbers, the 123 million that's generated out of 800.
That's on slot machines only.
That's my point. 123 million out of 801 slot machines at Flamborough. We get 4.5 maximum, 4.5 million. That's not 5%.
You get 5% on first 450 machines.
So it's gated then.
And then, well, we didn't even get the 2% came in. They gave it to us after a number of years. So originally it was 5% on slot machines, and then they came in because we started to grow, and they said, okay, 450, 5%, everything after that too. So you would see a decrease or corresponding, because about half of what you're receiving would be done on the 2%.
It decreases, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but it decreases after the capped amount?
After 450
machines. It doesn't become 7%, it declines to 2%.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
And how are you so sure that the revenues you derive from slots went into the pictures of the buildings that you showed us? How do you know that?
Council approves it. It goes straight out of council, out of our accounts into wherever it's going to go. It's all part of our estimates process. And we have a committee that's reviewed this a couple times. We just did it again last year, the process. But we do it out of estimates, and we look at the projects based on their merits as we move forward.
Okay, I would just close with this. We have received approximately the same amount of money as Brantford. from Flamborough. And I would ask our councillors around this table, what did we build with our $50 million? What pictures are you going to show us of the buildings you and please don't talk about general revenues. Don't insult me with that kind of response. It doesn't go into a special fund. What buildings have you built with the $50 million from Flamborough? I'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
You know, the other thing that we do that's significant is we don't spend the money until it's already in the bank. So it has to be in at least a year, and then you spend it in the subsequent year. So you can't spend it as it comes in.
Final question for Mayor Friel.
That's going to change this year, though.
Okay, my name is Saeed Toro. I'm the Imam of Hamilton Downtown Mosque, which is located in the Beasley Neighborhood Association within Ward 2. And I'm here with a few dozens of my congregation who are here to present their strong opposition for the bringing a casino not only to downtown Hamilton but also to the city of Hamilton. First, I'd like to thank you, Mayor, for coming and making this beautiful presentation. But I did notice that despite the fact that you mentioned in the beginning of your presentation that you're not here to promote nor oppose building a casino in Hamilton. However, anybody who saw your presentation would clearly see that you mentioned primarily the benefits of building a casino. However, you did not mention hardly anything about basically the negative aspects, except mentioning that there are some losses or some damages to some families. So my first question to you is, don't you think that that you contradicted yourself?
Well, you can't ask a question like that as a politician. You don't get to applaud for that. I'm a visitor. No, it's the benefits outweigh any negatives substantially. Mm-hmm. How we've invested the dollars have actually, in many cases, offset some of the problems that we would have dealt with. Mm-hmm. Policing, I showed you the numbers, the number of calls. Our social service numbers, and from our Director of Social Services, we have a structural component which is product of deindustrialization, but we have a structural component. Our social service numbers, increases and decreases, have more to do with economic development than virtually zero impact, and I can't say zero, so a minimal impact on social service costs directly related to anything from the casino. The numbers in a calendar reporting year, 64 people identifying. That goes through it. Prostitution, not an issue. Counterfeiting was our biggest crime in the beginning, but with paper or with plastic money now, that's almost gone too. So are there negatives outside of the positives? Yeah, there are, and I'm not going to deny that there are.
Yeah, my question was, why weren't they presented in the presentation? That's the question.
I showed you the policing one, which was the most dramatic, which is significant, and one of the issues that you're going to bring. I talked about the numbers for the last reporting year for gambling addiction. Mm-hmm. I could give you the social service numbers. In fact, I've got them on my iPad. I can pull you out, but it's going to show you the same thing.
It would have been lovely to see it on the presentation. That's my point.
Okay.
My next question is...
Just the one. You can come up and have a comment later. Mayor Friel, thank you very much. I'm sorry, but we do have to... It was a great question. Great question. You feel free to come up and make your comments later. Mayor Friel, I have one question with response to one of your responses and regarding the funding formula. You've had a look at the new funding formula. That's something we haven't seen here. I'm wondering what you've seen, and maybe Norm, who is our staff for with regards to the OLG and casino issue in Hamilton, can offer his comments on maybe timelines for when we might see the funding formula, key to obviously the casino question, given the deadline at the end of the year. So what have you seen there?
Well, we have agreements that are coming in. See, the 4 charity casinos, we're in a different spot than you will be. Our agreement with the province of Ontario, or the AGCO at the time, now to the OLG, was a 3-paragraph letter. And that was it, saying there's a casino coming into your community. And even the 5% wasn't mentioned in the original letter. That's all the agreement we had. So in a couple cases, or in the charity, there's 5 charity casinos now, including Gananoque. We all have new agreements coming, but that's more related to our particular situation than it is otherwise. The formulas that we will see are going to be the same formulas that everybody ultimately will see, but our agreements are particular to the fact that we don't have one yet.
Okay, and Norm, what are the timelines?
Through Councillor Farr, the timelines are by December 1st, I believe, we'll have the agreements in place.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Councillor, did you? Oh, you did. Okay. So our next speaker, who works with crisis mental health in Brantford, is Rochelle Martin. Many of you may have seen her editorial last week in the Hamilton Spectator. She's speaking on, obviously, what her expertise is, and we'll welcome 4 questions for Rochelle, too, if there are questions for Rochelle following her comments. And I then want to give 5 minutes to each of our political representatives from Hamilton to make a comment, which is most important, and I'm very happy that they came tonight and they're listening just as intently as I am. So right now, ladies and gentlemen, our second of 2 official speakers, Rochelle Martin.
Thank you. Thank you particularly to Councillor Farr for inviting me tonight. I heard about this opportunity 24 hours ago, so you'll have to forgive me for my scripted speech. You speak wonderfully off the top of your head, and that's probably why you're a mayor. My name is Rochelle Martin. I live just a few blocks from here on the other side of Jackson Square on McNabb North, just north of Mulberry. I live with my husband, Ron, and my 3 kids. My husband works at St. Joe's in Hamilton. I work actually in Toronto and in Brantford. And I'm here tonight not so much to talk as a resident of the downtown, although I am very opposed to a casino in my neighborhood. I'm here more to talk about my experience in the Brantford's emergency room as a crisis mental health nurse. And I really appreciate having the chance to do that. So Brantford has an emergency room. Brantford has 1 hospital, emergency room with a single RN that has mental health expertise that is there 24/7 to triage anyone presenting in the ER with psychiatric, addictions, or psychosocial crises. So because these cases can often be very time-consuming and difficult to resolve, I free up the ER physicians and the ER nurses to deal with the avalanche of medical stuff that's coming into the ER. So what I would do is manage initial crisis situations, assess, support, counsel, and ultimately make recommendations to the ER physician about follow-up treatment or admission or whatever referrals are needed for someone who comes in crisis into the ER. So I'm here to tell you tonight about the casino-related crime, violence, and human suffering that I witness as a crisis RN in Brantford's emergency room. You may have heard quotes from mayors, police chiefs, seen stats from Ontario municipalities with casinos saying that they have not observed any increase in crime in their cities as a result of their casino. There's a lot going on that mayors and police even don't know about. So I want to tell you about the havoc wreaked by Brantford's casino in particular, the effects that are off the radar. And these are things that are not reported to police, particularly sexual assault, physical assault, and domestic violence, and things that are not even in mental health or social service statistics, things that spin off from a casino. So I'm talking about depression, suicidality, substance abuse, homelessness, and apprehension of children by CAS. Brantford citizens present in ER with a whole slew of problems, and all too often I hear about the casino. It features in their stories of crisis, assault, and loss in some way or another. So apologies in advance for the graphic visuals to those that aren't used to hearing about street-level or emergency healthcare realities, but I just want to tell you, and these are anecdotal, but even one of these stories makes me say, just let's not go there. So I could tell you about a drunk guy who got his head smashed by a brick outside of Brantford Casino by someone he owed money to, who needed that money so he could pay off his gambling debt. Or a young mom who comes in suicidal because she fears she will never get her kids back from CAS. She managed to stay sober for 6 months and then had the ill fortune to run into an old boyfriend at the casino, and he gave her drugs. She shot up, and she is now worried that CAS will never give her kids back. She wants to kill herself. I'm talking about a guy who blew his entire disability check on day one, not because he's a problem gambler, but because he was hopeful that he might turn that meager check into enough extra cash to buy his grandson an iPod. And I could tell you about women leaving their kids alone to go out and sell sex, or arguably worse, selling sex in their apartments with their kids there in order to pay off their own or their partner's messed up mess of drug and gambling debt. We know that the majority of domestic and sexual assaults are not reported to police. That's true anywhere. And there are many reasons why casino-related violence, sex trade, drug trade, why these crises are not reported to police. Victims are on parole. Their assailant boyfriend is on parole. They were involved in criminal activity themselves when they were assaulted outside the casino, at the casino, or unfortunately, they just don't trust police. Yes, Brantford's most vulnerable citizens would still be assaulted, they'd still have drug relapses, they'd still lose their kids to CAS, they'd still resort to selling sex if there was no casino in Brantford, true. But I can tell you that Brantford's casino is a singular incubator for pain and suffering in a way that no particular bar or mall or other public space in Brantford is. Brantford's mayor, even their police department, might not be aware of this. Their social service and healthcare professionals know, but due to multiple and complex problems faced by vulnerable populations, it's very hard to document and cite the role that the casino plays in that web. In an astute letter to the editor in last week's Hamilton Spectator, past and present presidents of the Hamilton Academy of Medicine wrote, "In Hamilton, we can't afford to test our already strained mental health and social service resources. Research confirms that low-income populations consistently contribute proportionally more of their income to gambling than do middle or high-income groups. As we have seen in Code Red, this is, unfortunately, our downtown. What's more important, the city's bank account or the well-being of its citizens?" End of quote. Last month, the Spec ran a casino pros and cons piece, and it showed a file photo from the Niagara Falls View Casino with a couple in evening gowns and tuxes. Maybe this was a scene from the Falls View Casino on their opening night, I don't know. It sure didn't look that way when I was there a couple years ago. That casino can actually claim to attract out-of-province and international visitors because of the tourist draw of Niagara Falls. I'm sure that it's all glam the first night, but ultimately, and I really challenge you to go to a casino. I know a lot of people talk about it, and they've really never been, but I've been to a couple in Ontario, and I tell you, it's sticky, stained carpets and disadvantaged patrons with glazed eyes, hunched over nickel slots. Really, really, have you been to Brantford Casino recently? And if you missed Graham Mackay's political cartoon in today's Spec, it's worth a look for a more accurate view of what casinos are really like. So I'm not so naive as to think that our city doesn't need revenue, doesn't need development, doesn't need jobs. But we know that the bulk of any casino revenue would ultimately go to the province or into the pockets of the private casino owner. We know from studies in other cities that casinos draw money away from the local economy, jeopardizing local establishments and the jobs that are within them. Tim Potosik, who's here tonight, is a co-owner of downtown recording company Sonic Onion and the beautifully refurbished James North property that now houses the AGH Design Annex and the CBC Hamilton. He's also the force behind the hopeful and wildly successful Supercrawl Arts Festival. So this is what Tim says. "We have been firsthand witnesses to the rebirth of downtown Hamilton. This rebirth has occurred exclusively on the backs of hardworking small business people and the arts community. Casinos have one goal, to keep patrons within their walls. Research from other jurisdictions suggests that small businesses will suffer and quickly exit downtown Hamilton, leaving it to decay under the guise of a false casino economy. As a downtown resident, I can attest to the recent rebirth in my neighborhood that Tim describes. When we bought our house on McNabb North 5 years ago, friends questioned our judgment in raising our kids downtown. Now, they envy our location, minutes from running, cycling, and kayaking at Bayfront, walks to the farmers market and Central Library, around the corner from ever-growing numbers of cool cafes, art galleries, and retail shops on James North. Our kids bring their friends from Westdale and Dundas and Ancaster to art crawls and to super crawl. It was at super crawl a couple weeks ago. My kids and I were there to watch Kanon. We climbed up on a planter box at the intersection of King and James with our friends to watch Kanon perform. From up there, we could see this wonderfully diverse crowd stretching down James, past Cannon, down King William, and the positive and hopeful energy there was palpable. I'm so proud to live here, I said to my kids. We must not lose that momentum. Not to a casino plopped on that same intersection or near there. For pennies that we would get on each dollar spent at the casino, dollar spent likely by people in our community who can least afford to lose their dollar. For all of that, we would jeopardize the progress and revitalization achieved in our downtown and James North districts, and truly, we'd be jeopardizing the health and well-being of Hamiltonians. It would be meager, and it would be dirty money. The province and casino developers may be willing to take any dirty money that they can bleed out of us, but our city can just say no. We can walk away. We can keep developing our health and education, our arts and culture sectors, and our small businesses. We can continue to support downtown revitalization efforts and attract families like my own to not just visit, but live in the downtown. And we can keep growing our civic pride and accomplish our civic duty of ensuring the well-being of our most vulnerable citizens. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Everybody will take up to 4 questions. If you have one, Peter, go ahead. Come on down. You can come on over too. And you, anyone else? Okay, come on down. So those 4, please. And 1 question. If you have a comment, save your comment for later. We really need to keep the evening moving. So 1 question each. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Peter Hassick. I'm from Ward 1. You're probably aware of what's going on up at West 5th and Fennel, a massive mental health facility and addiction research. I'm just wondering if you think that to what effect that might mitigate not only the problems in Brantford, but the problems that would come with a casino in Hamilton.
Yeah, you're asking if I expect that we'd see similar things in our emergency psych resources, or?
Just that's going to appears to be a massive resource where there was none before, and it seems to be tailored to what you were talking about.
I'm not sure it's actually a whole lot of new stuff. It's certainly a restructuring and revamping and relocating of all of mental health that's sort of converging in that one location that has been spread around the city and at different sites, particularly with St. Joe's before.
So there's not, you don't think there'll be
I don't know enough to say how much of that is actually new or bigger.
Thank you. Good question. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name's Rob Hammer. The first part is I kind of have to disagree with you on the casino bit, because I think with the crisis that Hamilton's seeing right now, the casino may be the best thing to help Hamilton out of the gutter and get things that need to be repaired. Like the one there from Chris was saying, what his casino's done and what they put the money to good use to, I think that would be a benefit for Hamilton. Thank you.
I guess what I would disagree with there is that we're not in the gutter. I can't really speak to the situation Brantford was in when it needed its casino initially to get its little bit of money to lure Laurier, and that was an entirely different situation as I see it compared to Hamilton now, which is not in the gutter. It's very much moving along, and we don't need to go back.
Yeah, I agree. I've seen bits. I mean, I've walked the streets of Hamilton for years, and I've seen streets that need badly repairing, and this casino would do just that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
I have one question. How long have you been in Hamilton?
That's a difficult question to answer. I came here first in 1994 to go to McMaster, lived here for 6 years, moved to Toronto for 3, came back, and have lived here for the last 10.
Okay, I've lived here since '72, and I've watched the city go from a city that I loved to a city that went down the hill and is just beginning to get revitalized. And I'm for the casino because I think it can do a lot. I have been in Nova Scotia, I've been in BC, from coast to coast, and I've watched casinos all through. And I think Hamilton should have had this casino before it even went to Flamborough. I believe that it will do a lot for this city, and it will bring this city back to what it once was. If not, then something's wrong. We're on a good leg right now, so why not continue it?
Thank you.
My name's Linda Cochran, and I'm in Ward 2, and I really don't have a question for you. I just want to say that I agree with the fact that in the paper today, Spectator, the study from McMaster University about mental illness being worse than cancer. Well, the DSM just came out, the 5th edition, the diagnostic manual for mental illness. And compulsive gambling is now not just an addiction, but a mental illness. Okay, so do we want more cancer in Hamilton? No, I don't think so. I am a compulsive gambler. I am also a recovering alcoholic. And, you know, I have never in my life experienced the devastation, the wanting to kill myself, the destruction of my family and the people that I have met, the fact that I had to drop out of theology school, that I wanted to be a minister walking these streets so that I could help people, but you know what? I can't because I'm a mess myself. And I walked through the casinos, Casino Niagara and Rama, and all of those places when they first opened and all the other places now that they've opened. I've done theology work there, and I've talked to people, and you know what? They're not alive anymore. They're dead. It's suicide. Why? Because they can't stand it either. They walk out of that place, they have nothing left inside. The spiritual, emotional, physical, and it's not even worse. If one person, the most vulnerable people in our province, and they can build a huge, massive, wonderful thing in Brantford. Oh, well, that's great. But you know what? The emotional toll is not worth it if we have the most vulnerable people in our city feeling the way that I feel. Then I can say only to everybody, well, thanks a lot. And for the gentleman that came and talked about his mosque, I will say to you that I talked to a Muslim man up at Mohawk, and he said to me, did you know that there was a man that invented this machine to catch another man?
Hi, my name is Patricia Veralje, and I live on McNabb North. And I don't know whereabouts on just past Mulberry you live, but I was happy to get out of there. My husband grew up there for over 30 years. The mission's there now from Toronto with garbage. I'm approved of a casino in Hamilton. I think it'll bring jobs to Hamilton. And if people want to gamble, so be it. If you don't like gambling, then don't go. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Rochelle. Rochelle, most appreciated, and especially the short notice. You did a remarkable job, and I really appreciate you doing it. Mayor Friel had a whole week to do that PowerPoint presentation, to put it together. Yes. Yeah, he had staff do it. Yeah, sure. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Councillor McHattie from Ward 1 is here, and obviously from Ward 3 is Councillor Bernie Morelli. Some of you are from those wards. I appreciate their attendance, and I would also appreciate it, and I've spoken to them in advance, and they both agreed to say a few words. Following Brian McHattie's thoughts and Bernie Morelli's thoughts, we're going to hear from Councillor Pasuta of Ward 14, where, of course, Flamborough Downs and Slots is located. And then Mayor Bertina will also spend 5 minutes. So another 15, 20 minutes, and then we're going to open up the floor. If you want to start lining up now, feel free. Based on the number of people that put up their hands at the start of the evening, I think you're going to get a good minute or two to speak your mind, say your piece, and maybe even ask one of our panelists a question or two if we have some time to do so. Mr. Mayor, if you've got to go, you can go first.
No, I just want to say I'm going to give up my 5 minutes to hear. I'm really here to hear from
the people. Good. So okay. You're fine with that too? You're good? I would like to hear from Councillor Pasuta if everybody would be kind enough to give him 2 or 3 minutes.
Thank you, Councillor Farr. And I did not expect to speak tonight. I wasn't going to attend, but when you mentioned at council last night, I thought I would listen in. And it's an important issue that we have to deal with over the coming weeks. In fact, it's a short time notice to deal with the issue. And Councillor McHattie has indicated to me he gave up his time to listen to the people. I'm going to be short and sweet. Flamborough Downs is in Ward 14, my ward, in the rural ward. And it has the slots there, and the slots were put there in 2000 to, it was an agreement with the horse racing industry to share in the slots. And it has helped the horse racing industry, which is an agricultural-based industry and supports agriculture greatly out there. I think OLG has come out with something here which, personally, I believe we did not need to have. Things were working fine as they were. I'm going to speak out here a little bit. I think it's more greed than anything else for the province to reach deeper into the pockets of the people that can't afford this. Something interesting tonight that the first time I heard it, and we've had OLG here in council chambers, we had OLG people in the mayor's office, and I have had conversations with them, but Mayor Friel had indicated that there is no revenue from the gaming tables coming to Brantford, only from the slots. So that was some new information for us. Even when OLG was here, they never indicated or said a word to us that we were going to get or not get any money from the gaming tables. So that's another interesting fact that was kept from us. So the horse racing industry out there has suffered over the years from a reduction in race days, and now has come along this where the slots at racetrack program is being cut, and if there's no program coming forward or any funding from any gaming or the OLG, it's going to die come March the 31st of 2013. I know our agriculture minister, Tim McMeekin, has put a panel together to work on some kind of a funding or transition. The money that's been discussed and coming forward is not enough. And I know right now they're working on possibly coming on Monday and Tuesday with a new program with more funding for a transition, but it's not going to save the agriculture industry out there. Horse racing involves more than just horse racing and the people that are involved in that, the trainers, the people that own horses. We have the people, the farmers that supply the hay, the straw, the grains, lots of jobs right there alone. All the equipment companies that supply the equipment to the farmers and repairs. Feed stores that sell the feed that the farmers supply is many, many jobs out there. The spin-offs for hardware, building people that build the barns and keep fences. It's enormous, the spin-off from the horse racing industry. Mayor Friel had indicated that the slots at Flamborough Downs is one of the most successful. And from that was based on Great Canadian Gaming running that operation. One of the issues here with keeping the slots, and as I said, we would not get anything. And the way it is right now, the program, we'd get nothing from the table. So we're going to have slots, maybe more machines at Flamborough Downs. I guess one of the things is we need some kind of a program, some kind of a backing from our provincial government to keep the racetrack program going. And that's important for all of us. If you want to go play tables, go to Brantford, you go to Niagara, go to Rama, go wherever you want. I don't think that, I don't think at this point in time, if we do not have an agreement with Great Canadian Gaming, who has to have a lease with the OLG, and let me stress this, Great Canadian Gaming has to lease their property to OLG, short-term or long-term, for somebody to put an RFP, a bid on, to have gaming there. So if there's not an agreement, we're not going to have anything at Flamborough Downs. If the agreement comes forth, then it'll be put out on RFP, request for proposals. Great Canadian Gaming has indicated to me, to us here at Council Chambers when they came, that they want to stay in the horse racing business, they want to keep horse racing there, but they cannot do it on their own, they cannot do it from the revenues if they should have the opportunity to host a casino or slots at Flamborough Downs. So the horse racing industry is in a tight spot, very tight spot. It's drastic. So we have to, and I'm going to push, and I'm the farmer here at City Council, and I understand the rural way of life, my whole life doing that. It's important that we try to work to keep, and with the motion that we have forward, to keep the gaming, slots, whatever comes there, Flamborough Downs. And I hear many of the people, I'm getting lots of emails from both sides. People in my ward, in the rural area, said we don't want a casino downtown. Leave it where it is, and it's based on their thoughts and the thoughts that I have from people is it going to affect social services? Are people going to be addict gamblers in downtown because it's more accessible to some of these people? Sure, you can catch a bus down here, you can take it up to Flamborough Downs, but what I'm hearing is, please, Councillor, talk to your colleagues, talk to whoever you have to try to keep what we have in Flamborough up there on Highway 5 and leave downtown alone.
Thank you.
So in saying that, Councillor Farr, I'd like to thank you for hosting this tonight, and I'm looking forward to hearing what people have to say. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Councillor Pasuta. With that, web poll results for the Ward 2 questionnaire, where there was 2 questions. Do you support a casino locating in downtown Hamilton? Question 1. 67 said yes of the 350 plus that participated. 221 said no. Do you support a casino locating elsewhere in the city of Hamilton? 105 said yes, and 169 said no. First speaker, who asked some questions a little earlier. Introduce yourself, your ward, and get to your comment, please. And thank you all for coming. Sorry, just before you start, raise the hands if you plan on lining up and saying a few words still, just so I can work the clock efficiently. Phil? 1, 2, 3, about 6, 7 more? 8 more? Okay, go ahead.
John Neary, Beasley Neighborhood, Ward 2. I strongly oppose a casino in downtown Hamilton or anywhere in Hamilton for the reasons Rochelle Martin gave so eloquently. I will not repeat them. I will mention that our neighborhood association had its own poll with a simple question: do you support having a casino in Beasley? And of 214 votes, 89% were strongly opposed. 89% to having a casino in our neighborhood. That doesn't bear directly on having a casino in the city in general, but if one is built in Beasley, it is clearly over the strong objections of our neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, thank you.
Hi, I'm Dave Chakruski. I live in Ward 2. A lot of the councillors here know me because I sit on the media bench for Citizens at City Hall. I've been watching particularly the budget over the last couple of years. For everyone that didn't listen to the presentation that OLG and particularly Great Canadian Gaming did, they did a really remarkable presentation, particularly Great Canadian Gaming. I think we should support Flamborough Downs and what's happening there. We already have an operator we like. I don't think we should go elsewhere. And I really question, because when OLG came in, the one casino, they made a comment. The largest underserviced area is Toronto. There's going to be a casino in Toronto, and that will draw all the people, and there will be no people for gaming here in Hamilton. So I think we should support our council by keeping Flamborough Downs running and our operator of Great Canadian Gaming. Thank you.
A reminder to sign the sheet when you speak, before you speak. So when we do have a speaker at the podium, the next person can kind of sneak in there and we'll move along efficiently. Thank you. So far, we're doing great. We're making good time, and we'll keep it going.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Hamilton. I'm a resident of Ward 2 in the Durand neighborhood. I'll say right up front that I am opposed to any casino in Hamilton. I agree with the former speakers that support gaming remaining at Flamborough Downs for a number of reasons. I think, though, that it's really important for everyone to fully understand why we're even talking about casinos in Hamilton. The OLG, in its lack of wisdom, decided before the Drummond report was released, and for those of you who don't know what the Drummond report is, it was a report commissioned by the Liberal government of Ontario. Drummond is a renowned economist from one of the banks, and I apologize for not recalling which bank it is, to come up with suggestions on to how Ontario can get out of its fiscal deficit. One of the suggestions made by the Drummond report, and I'm just going to refer to it here, was that OLG be reviewed, that they should be closing one of their 2 head offices, that they should be closing one of the casinos that already exists in Niagara Falls, and that won't be Fallsview, and that they review the current agreement with the horse owners and racetracks in Ontario that was arranged back in the late 1990s as a revenue-sharing agreement, not a subsidy, as our Minister of Revenue, Dwight Duncan, and also Dalton McGuinty like to refer to it. So what did the government do? The government, in its wisdom, decided that we're going to cancel the slots at racetrack program. We want all of the money, the revenue that we share with the tracks for letting us have our gaming facilities there, that we share with the track owners, that we share a small portion with the horsemen, and the 5% that goes to the municipalities that host these. And Hamilton has gained over, I believe, $4.4 million of revenue from the slots at Flamborough. So the government has to come up with new revenue generators. So OLG, in its wisdom, decided casinos. Let's build some mega casinos. The former speaker was correct. They want a mega casino in Toronto. Any discussion here in Hamilton or other smaller cities is very secondary to getting that casino at Toronto. So I fault a private organization like OLG, and when I say private, these people are not elected officials. Paul Godfrey was not elected to head OLG. He was appointed by the Liberal government. And Mr. Godfrey is working very closely with Larry Tannenbaum and others who are very good friends of the Liberals to line their pockets and get VLTs at bingo parlors. So be prepared, folks. You may be talking about a casino today, but when it doesn't come to Hamilton, we're then going to be talking about VLTs, which is a nice way of talking about slot machines, but they're video lottery terminals, any other name. They're going to be coming into your bingo parlors, too. There's no advantage for Hamilton to have a casino. People aren't going to come to the casino to visit Hamilton. They're not going to come to go to the restaurants nearby because they're going to go to the restaurants in the casino. They're not going to come to go to the bars nearby because the casinos are going to give them free drinks. So we can see the revitalization of the cafes and bars and restaurants. That's going to go down the tubes, folks. So be prepared for a great job loss there. And while it's great to say that, oh yes, the casino will generate a lot of jobs, all it will do is offset the job loss elsewhere. We also have a great deal of revitalization already going on in downtown Hamilton and other areas of the city as well. We've got McMaster with their large health science unit moving right downtown, where the right across the street, in fact. I really don't think that that particular facility, which is going to be a health science facility, is going to mix well with a casino, although, yes, maybe they can provide some services for those addicted gamblers. Also, understand that over 30% of all casino revenue comes from those who can least afford it. So these are people on social assistance. You don't find people like me who I will say I have a generous income. I don't waste it on the slots because I know that's a fool's gamble. You know, it is a shell game, as was mentioned by a councillor at the Toronto Town Hall a couple of days ago. The gambling is going to be targeted at, as I say, those who can least afford it. And people are not going to be going outside of that casino. They're not going to be visiting Hamilton. So not a big tourist attraction as far as getting them outside of the casino and elsewhere. Downtown can't sustain it. I don't think there's really any other part of Hamilton that can sustain it. I certainly don't want to see our beautiful waterfront that we're really finally starting to get established go to a casino, because I'm sure that that's where the Vegas big folks would like to have it rather than right downtown Hamilton. I've said enough. I've taken up enough time. I am against the casino, and thank you very much. Oh, one other thing. I just have to say this because it's really important that you understand this too. The Slots at Racetrack program is the largest and most profitable product that OLG has. The casinos that now exist are losing money. Over $200 million last year, or projected for this year, whereas the slots at racetracks made over $1.1 billion for the Ontario government. That's why this whole thing makes no sense. And OLG can't explain it. Dalton McGuinney can't explain it. Dwight Duncan can't explain why they're canceling this. I'll tell you, something's rotten in Denmark.
Thank you. Reminder, folks, if you haven't filled out this vote sheet, the Casino Town Hall vote card, there's some in the hallway. We'd love for you to do so. We want to add up the votes, actually, as tonight's proceedings continue right around 9:30. So our next speaker, where are you from?
Hi, it's Ward 6. It's Robert Whitelaw.
Ward 6.
Ward 6.
Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Well, I think I'd like to break this down without having an opinion so far on a couple levels. I'm going to handle 3 points: location, money, and plan. I broke this down as one, we don't have a location. There's been, for this, much like the football stadium, much like the velodrome, where's the plan for the stadium? Where are locations that we plan to put this that are available to us, and why haven't they been published? Whether it's going to be in Flamborough, whether it's going to be downtown, whether it's going to be at the waterfront, whether it's going to be out here in Stony Creek somewhere, or wherever. We have to nail it down so people can actually legitimately understand where it might be going.
Right off the top, we had the slide, a unanimous council and a mayor that voted for Flamborough. So that location, unanimously, April 13th, 2011. Also, we need you to move a little more quickly.
Pardon me?
So it's the Ward 123 Casino Town Hall. I don't mind you coming all the way down from the east hill,
please, I'm a taxpayer. Excuse me, I'm a taxpayer, and I showed up here. I please don't want to waste my time on this, please. Thank you. Because
okay, well, I'm answering your question, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The second one, obviously, was money. Right now, presently, we haven't exposed the funds that we get now. President Flamborough is approximately $4.5 million per year, and that goes into general revenue. Am I correct in assuming that? It doesn't go to projects like it occurs in Brantford. Mostly in general revenue. Okay, so we can agree on that. So we're not talking a Brantford scenario as it stands right now. And where's the plan? The third point I want to make, where's our plan? We don't have a plan for the casino right now. We are reacting, much like we did with the stadium, much like we've done with now the Board of Education. That's a reactionary response. McMaster and that move. These were never long-term plans for us, and we're constantly doing this. This plan has to be preserved. I do agree, and if I have one opinion right now, I do agree it should go in Flamborough because that's the best place for it right now, because we're going to preserve jobs, we're going to preserve businesses. I think that's very important to have. And they're facilitated. But right now that what we've experienced in Hamilton, that this is another scenario that's being rammed down us without a real plan and long-term thinking. We saw the only exposure that we had long-term thinking that was exposed tonight was the Brantford mayor telling about in 1840 about the park that existed there. That's a plan that happened almost 100 years ago and exists now. Hamilton has very little exposure with these plans that last 150 years or 60 years. We're reacting all the time, reacting. This guy wants to put something here. This guy wants to put. I love to see our long-term plans, a 5-year plan come to fruition like may have would have happened in the waterfront development. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. I'm sure you'll have an opportunity at a Ward 6 town hall real soon too, so thanks for coming.
Eileen Shea, Ward 2. I'm Eileen Shea, Ward 2. I have a letter from the Central Neighborhood Association. Matt Jelly, the chair, is not able to.
I'm glad you're sharing that. I was going to do that, but you go right ahead.
On behalf of the Central Neighborhood Association, we are writing this letter to register our strong opposition to the concept of an OLG casino in the Central Neighborhood and the broader downtown core. We have arrived at this position both in consultation with residents of the Central Neighborhood and from our association's board of directors. The process of selecting if and where a casino should be open and transparent. Most importantly, the location of such a casino, such a facility, should be supported by the residents of the neighborhood where it is located. As engaged residents of the Central Neighborhood, we are clear in not supporting this kind of facility within the neighborhood which we call home. We appreciate Councillor Farr's efforts to reach out via telephone, online polls, and through town hall meetings to the community he represents to gain a good understanding of whether a potential OLG casino would be supported. We would like to request that the data of these consultations be made publicly available. We would also ask that any future meetings held by the Gaming Facility Proposal Subcommittee be recorded and streamed the same way as other committee meetings, and minutes of these meetings be made available online. In 1997, the residents of the old city of Hamilton was given the opportunity to register their support opposition to a casino facility through the citywide referendum. The results of this referendum indicated strong opposition to a casino in the downtown core, with some 64% of respondents rejecting the proposal. The results of that referendum should stand until another referendum is held. If there are people or interests promoting the casino concept, they could pay for a referendum separate from the next election. Many residents of the Central Neighborhood have in the past been consulted on the two secondary plans which encompass our neighborhood, the Downtown Secondary Plan and Setting Sail. Generally, residents are supportive of these planning documents because of the strength of the consultations that informed them. The broad themes of these plans focus on attracting and retaining residents in the downtown and West Harbor area to make downtown a safer, more livable neighborhood. Both the real and perceived impacts of a downtown casino would be directly at odds with that goal. In our attempts in the past to initiate urban renewal in our downtown neighborhoods, we've spent a lot of public dollars in trying to attract tourists for a few hours, rather than to attract residents who will stay and support the downtown for a few decades. City Council deserves credit for more recent efforts to bring more residents to the downtown through initiatives and through grants and city building initiatives. This momentum would be squandered if we were to change our goal midstream. Part of what makes a neighborhood attractive to residents is that there is some sort of coherent plan, and that any major decisions about the future of that neighborhood are at least in part guided by the residents who live there. When we stray from plans developed and supported by residents, we increasingly render planning processes meaningless. Anecdotally, we can find any number of examples of good, bad, and indifferent impacts that casinos have had in various municipalities. In our view, adding the influence of a casino would only exacerbate the myriad of social challenges we already face, as thoroughly illustrated by studies such as the Hamilton Spectator's Code Red series. Lastly, as a neighborhood association, we do believe our highest aspiration as a community should remain to be the best place in Canada to raise a child, not the best place in Canada to raise a bet. Thank you.
These were the views of a neighborhood association. Beasley came up, another neighborhood association. They said they polled 220, 89% said they didn't want a casino in their neighborhood. Just to be clear, you didn't do a poll. This was a discussion amongst a large majority of you that attend these meetings. Very impressive attendance at your neighborhood meetings. And you didn't do a formal poll, and you were specific not to central neighborhood, but to the downtown.
Downtown, yes. And I just have a question of my own. In 1997, before amalgamation, there was a vote no against a casino. I'm wondering, from your slideshow, when we actually approved planning for a casino in downtown. You said you had in one of your slides.
Oh, that was a zone. There's zoning that's permittable for entertainment. It's entertainment
Okay, but it actually hasn't been zoned that way.
2005 is your answer.
Okay, thank you.
The zoning.
Okay.
Right. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Donna McNabb. I'm in Ward 2. My comment is related to the 30 years I spent in the insolvency field. There's no empirical data on gambling as a cause of bankruptcy or of insolvency. The problem being that the cause of bankruptcy is as self-declared by the bankrupt under oath during examination. And the problem that you run into with people who end up in bankruptcy, at least partially because of gambling, is that they don't recognize that it's an addiction. There also is a great amount of cross addictions. So that when Mayor, Brill was talking about direct, that there weren't very many problems directly related to gambling. I don't know how you could say that unless you're talking about just what was happening outside of the casino doors or inside the casino itself, because there's no data available as far as I know.
We'll let the mayor answer.
Okay.
For every part of this, we've done studies through social services. We've even done, we monitor and measure bankruptcies. And the relationships go with the peaks and valleys of economic development or economic increase or decline. There is no measurable increase in bankruptcies related to a casino. There wasn't a huge spike.
How would you know that?
Because we measure it.
How do you measure it? How do you find?
We know when you go through, I mean, there are a whole series of ways of being able to get the raw number data. So
how do you know what's the cause of a bankruptcy? I worked 30 years in the field, and I could say that I would have a pretty good feel, but at the end of an hour sitting with a person under oath answering my questions, that I would have a pretty good feeling, but I couldn't say 100%, okay, it was gambling or it was not gambling, because it's more that there's more than one cause.
If you look at a 20-year trend, say, so you do this in any kind of social impact study, the increase or the introduction of the casino would see, and we saw a series of spikes immediately after the increase of the casino. So we could say right away, okay, and now we know. We get to see where we were, we benchmark, we get to see where we were, we get to see the decline. We can look at what is measurable within.
So do you take into account the rest of the things that are happening in the country and the
do it within,
financial climate generally?
I'm talking about the Brantford case study.
Yeah.
So we measure all of those things. It's like social services. I can look at our numbers. They increase when the economy went on a downturn. Our social service numbers go up. We have our social service numbers are structural, meaning we have above average social service numbers, but we've had it long before the casino was there. It is a product of the collapse of the single industry community. It's deindustrialization. So we can see those, we benchmark that over the course of decades. So we know where it is and how if there was a dramatic spike. So is there 2%, 5%?
And how long has the casino been in Brantford?
12 years.
12 years.
So
I think that your statement is probably correct, that that there are a few problems that can be directly associated with gambling. But the other point that I wanted to make to the city of Hamilton is, Brantford's casino is outside of the downtown area, is not in an area residential. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's no residential immediately around us.
So that's a mitigating factor as well. That if you have a casino sitting in a neighborhood where people live, where there are passersby, where there's a lot of foot traffic and a lot of people just passing by, you're going to have a lot more of an impact in your police services and crimes and that type of thing. I guess that's my only point. I obviously am opposed to a casino anywhere in Hamilton, but particularly downtown. I think we should keep things at Flamborough Downs. It's working there, and that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Mayor Friel, you were going to say, you got 2%, 3%. What were you going to say?
I was going to, there was a hypothetical. I mean, if you, okay. It would be difficult to measure if we saw an increase in something that would be 2 to 3, 5%. But problem gaming hits about 3%, which proves itself out within our numbers. So you can hold that with a lot of the numbers.
Thank you. Peter.
Me again. Peter Hasek, Ward 2. I just want to thank you, Jason, for holding this tonight on behalf of the people who are left in the room. I was going to thank you earlier, but you went like this to get me to sit down. Okay. Yeah. No. Mayor Friel, I'm appalled that you guys are only getting 5%. Have you thought of, our mayor's left, has there been any thought of you guys forming a collective bargaining unit with the other mayors and gang up on the province?
Yeah, well, actually we did that.
Do you have the authority to be able to enforce that? That's I guess what I'm asking. Can you have to go to the labor board or something?
We did. All the casino mayors met at the end of.
Can you repeat that?
All the casino mayors met at the end of AMO 2011.
Okay.
Which is our association. It was in London. We all got together. That was the first time. And there was a smaller group that was formed of 5 mayors, one of which I was, representing the charity casinos. And we were dealing with the fact that they were changing the financial reporting structure. And that was part of our discussion, was where the dollars would go. But to be honest, I mean, for a community of our size, 5%, where we're getting it, I can't say that I have any difficulty with it.
Really? Okay.
I want 50, but the truth is that it's been very generous.
Okay.
And we've done well off it, and we've invested the money well.
So amongst your contemporaries in the province, did you get any sense that there would be any appetite for a group gang up on the province on this, or on OLG?
You can't. Just the OLG is its own creature. Okay. And the likelihood that you get anywhere with it is slim to none. And I think most of the casinos or racinos are just trying to hang on.
Thank you.
Okay, my name is Susan Wilkinson, and I'm from Ward 7, so I'm not going to take up too much time. Sorry. I just wanted to say I'm totally not opposed to the casino. Reasons being, if somebody has an addiction, and if you ask my husband and look at my closet and my jewelry box, I have an addiction. It's usually pink. But I'll go anywhere to get it. So if I had an addiction to gambling, it didn't matter if it was in downtown Hamilton or if it was in Flamborough, Dundas, wherever, I would go to it. But luckily, I'm not addicted to gambling. But I am the face of a casino goer. We go 4 times a year. We spend $100 between the two of us. So, I do have addictions, not to gambling, not to alcohol, not to drugs, shopping. But when we go to dinner, Niagara Falls. We go to dinner at Copacabana. We make an evening out of it. So to say that only the restaurants in the casino would make money is totally false. We stay around. We spend our money elsewhere. When we go to Brantford Casino, we also hit Wayne Gretzky Parkway. We go shopping there. We make a day of it. So I think that would be very, very beneficial and what Hamilton needs. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Phil, Ward 2, sometimes taken for Mr. Bob Young. I am against the casino downtown, and also, what's his name? The Mayor Brio said there's not that many casinos in downtowns anyway. So may I make a suggestion? Flamborough Downs, maybe. But I don't gamble. I don't know how somebody help teach me to gamble, you know, if I go there. So I'll play the guitar for them or something like that, you know. But they haven't invited me to come and play there. I make a suggestion. If not Flamborough Downs, if you get one, why not Confederation Park? Ask the developer to build one there where the stadium, Pan Am Stadium, should have been. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Phil.
Hi, Ned Nolan from Ward 1. I'd like to thank Rochelle Martin for hitting the nail on the head on this issue. My view is that putting a casino in downtown Hamilton right when we're starting to do things right is totally insane. But I wanted to make one specific point. The bulk of Mayor Friel's support for a casino seems to stem from the financial benefits, right? The revenue that was obtained by having a casino downtown. That's something we hear a lot of, the financial benefits that come from a casino in terms of government revenue. We don't hear enough discussion, though, about whether it's legitimate for our governments to be making money in this way. I don't think it's okay for our government to make money by manipulating some of the most vulnerable and disadvantaged people in our community. It's like a tax on the poor, but it's not even an honest, transparent tax. It's a sneaky, intentionally seductive scam that undeniably preys on desperate people, preys on addiction, and preys on the false hope of people who are looking for a quick fix. I think it's time we saw the government revenue argument for what it is, a regressive tax on the poor, and that we stop treating it like a fair justification for a casino in our community. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Larry Patterson. I'm a resident of Ward 3. I am opposed to a casino, but I'm glad we're having this conversation because it makes you think of what you like about casinos. And I've written an article recently and forwarded it to all the some of the media and to councillors about what it is I like. And for the most part, it's family time. Me, my mom, or my dad will go to the casino and mostly to see a show. We'll have dinner there, and you know, we'll sit at the same machine and put in $20 here or there and just take turns pressing the button. We don't spend a lot of money. But I see a lot of sad faces. I see a lot of frustration. I see people beside me feeding in money, like left and right, and I just don't know how we find entertainment value in throwing away $50 like it's something we can make in 5 minutes. So I think we should think about what we like about casinos while we're going through this process the next couple months, and think of how we could possibly build something better, as Rochelle mentioned about, and others have mentioned about the revitalization that the community, the small businesses have made. How can we maybe not create 900 jobs at one big facility, but how could we maybe make something a little smaller scale? Maybe it is gaming. Maybe you're there playing Risk or cards with your buddies, whatever. I'm not sure how you could generate a revenue off of that, but if you had to pay $50 to get in, and if it had entertainment, if it had a swing club or anything to bring something kind of new and exciting downtown where a lot of people, because that's what I love. I love being around a lot of people. I love seeing people dressed up. But I like seeing people happy, not sad, not knowing that they're walking away thinking, I went in there saying I was going to spend $50, but there's bank machines everywhere that's also charging me $2.50 or $4 to take money out. So I like to see something grassroots and just something that's actually going to put smile on faces. And what you're saying about sending it in the box and watching people happy and dancing and alive, that's what we want downtown. And we obviously want to save Flamborough. I'm glad to hear all the voices for Flamborough and racetracks, most importantly. But let's keep it grassroots and really think through this process of what we could build as artists, as community people, as small businesses, and you know, I go to a casino and eat, and I don't even think the food's that good. So if we're keeping people, and they're packed, you can't tell me that people aren't mostly eating at the casino because you can't move in this place. And I went to see Harry Connick Jr., who I wanted to see for a long time. I haven't seen him since '96 in Toronto. I think I might have spent nearly $100 on to see him at Danforth, and he probably played for a few hours. I stood right there. You know, I got to meet him. I got to meet his band. I got to interact. He played for 90 minutes at the casino. I got him for free because my parents like to go there in their spare time. But $90, those tickets started at to $150. And not to knock Harry Connick, because it's every show that I've ever seen there is that length of time. But I don't see any entertainment value in what we're hoping that these casinos will bring to our downtown. So, thank you.
Excellent. Patterson, you need to know that I read word for word your email, and you won, of the hundreds, yours won the prize for the largest word count. But you should be a writer. You should think about that. Sylvia.
Hi. My name is Sylvia Nickerson. I'm a resident of Ward 2. I'm one of the co-presidents of the Beasley Neighborhood Association. Just in case anyone's not familiar, Beasley is the area of downtown, kind of between James and Wellington, the CN tracks and Main Street. Yeah, we've been handed out our letter at the beginning. We're here to just say we do strongly oppose this proposal to bring a casino to downtown Hamilton. I think my husband already mentioned the online poll, so I won't have to mention it again. However, we have debated the casino issue, or we have discussed it at several BNA meetings, and we feel confident that our community is not supportive of this proposal. And our letter in opposition to it was adopted unanimously. The BNA as an organization is certainly not against development opportunities in our community and in our backyard. We're open to sharing it with other people. And as an organization, I think we have generally adopted an attitude that's not a not in our backyard attitude. However, the BNA motto is to improve the quality of life for people who work, live, and play in the Beasley neighborhood. And in our estimation, a casino, especially in the downtown, does not align with this goal. A casino downtown is also inconsistent with the downtown secondary plan, which includes things like values like making downtown living attractive, and recognizing the value of modest improvements and changes in the development of the downtown, and creating quality residential neighborhoods. We're fully in support of the downtown secondary plan, and we would like it to be respected and implemented, and a casino downtown would redress some of the current efforts underway to make the quality of life in the downtown neighborhoods better. We also believe in that modest improvements and changes can be good ones, and I think the Beasley Neighborhood Association hopefully is a model for that. And one of our members, Paul Elia, recently came before Council, the General Issues Committee, and talked a little bit about some of the projects we're doing in our neighborhood, and how, as a neighborhood, we've consulted with our residents to develop these community projects to move a downtown neighborhood that has had challenges, to move it forward. And these efforts are made by a lot of committed citizens in a very small way, but we have seen big results. We feel a casino has risks, and these risks do not affect all people equally. And I wonder, is it ethical for the city of Hamilton to put a facility within a neighborhood or neighborhoods that have historically and continue today to be the home to many of the city's most vulnerable citizens? Does Beasley as a community have the resilience to resist the negative effects of gambling, including gambling addictions, and the effects of gambling, including bankruptcies that may result from residents' close proximity to a casino, and the crime and substance abuse that persons in desperate circumstances are often forced to resort to? And so I invite Councillor Farr and members of council to think about that and answer that for themselves honestly. After carefully weighing these questions ourselves, we feel strongly the answer is no, and we don't want a casino. Thank you very much for listening.
Sylvia.
Hi there. My name is John Vrates. I'm a resident of Ward 2. I live in the Beasley Neighborhood Association, and thank you, Sylvia. There are a lot more emotional things and a lot more social issues. Oh, sure. A lot more social issues I could address as well as she could. I'm good at math. That's about all I'm good at. So I'm going to try to stick to that. Mr. Friel suggested that one of the biggest benefits they've had out of their casino in Brantford has been the financial gains. And there haven't been a lot of impacts, really. The pros kind of match the cons. There hasn't been a lot of spin-off development, but there's been money. And I also understand that from what the numbers I've heard tonight, the numbers being talked about in this city, about 4.4 to 4.5 million annually. Okay. I've lived in Hamilton for 12 years. 5 of which between wards 1, 2, 3, and then finally buying my first house in 2, 3 years ago. When I moved in, my neighbor who lived there for 7 years already had a house value that when I compared to what I paid for my comparable house, I paid about 65% more than he did. I think that's a really good reflection of the revitalization and the value we're seeing in revitalization in our neighborhood already. Since I bought my house 3 years ago, houses on my street, also comparable value and comparable size, have increased in value, or on the market, I watch the market in my neighborhood, by another 25%. What we're seeing in this city is revitalization. It's already happening. And the value we're talking about when we talk about $4.5 million, that's the equivalent to, let me get this straight, Ward 2 has approximately 21,000 residential units. That's an average of $200 per unit per year to match that cost. At the rate my house's value has gone up, if my tax assessment was updated and reflected that, I'd be paying about 4 times that much more in my taxes. So I'm saying that the revitalization we're already seeing is going to be worth so much more than some shabby casino with all these issues that Sylvia brought up. If we actually just, stick it out and keep going, because this town is going in the right direction, and that's one of the reasons I committed to stay here, coming as someone who never thought they'd stay here after they finished their degree at McMaster until they had a chance to live here.
Be happy, or maybe you won't be happy to know that MPAC is ready to go forward with the new assessment in the next few months. So it'll be based on your current value and your taxes will go up.
Hi, my name's Thomas Ambrositis, Ward 2. Also a recent MAC grad, but also a frontline social worker with Children's Aid. And something I just wanted to bring up, more so not to talk maybe to some of the gentlemen here in suits, but to some of us all sitting around. I think we've heard a lot of disapproval of this plan to have considering having a casino in downtown or in Hamilton. And I think it's really important for us to consider the fact that we're not stuck between two choices. And the language can sometimes get caught in this cycle of, well, there's the money in the casino on one hand, or there's people are living a bit better, there's not as much mental health problems, but there's no money. And that's a complete fallacy. There are ways, and that's what we're hearing. I'm not saying anything new. There are other ways that we can make money. There are other ways that we can develop our community and make it stronger. And we are hearing all sorts of great ideas from people who are here, who are the people of Hamilton that are expressing their voice of discontent. And I really, really warn and really want people to think about who's really going to be pushing to say yes. Who's going to say yes to this casino? And it's going to be a lot of people who don't look like us, who wear really nice suits, who don't make as much money as we do. They make a lot more. And the casinos are built on the profit. The whole concept of why they want it here is to make profit. That's simple as that. It's about the money. We've had a mayor present, and I didn't come in at the beginning. I didn't hear that you were going to be impartial. But when I came in, it was the sales pitch. I thought for sure he was a representative of the casino. So it's really important to think who's pushing for it, and why is there a whole room of people who are discontent, who are local, hardworking citizens, who really identify with this place. And if we're going to talk about, and again, I'll use your words, there are other mayors who are holding on to what they have with these casino and the OLG corporations. Well, why do we want to do business with people who make us feel intimidated, who make us feel like we have to hold on to scraps and be grateful for that? Why don't we do business with local entrepreneurs, local small business, community members, people that are talking here tonight? Those are the people we want to build. That's the citizenship that we want to build, and we don't need to build the negative citizenship. We don't need the type of citizenship that we will start creating with all those social problems that come along with casinos. We do not need to encourage that culture. We have strong Hamiltonians here who are building and have a vision and have a hope for tomorrow, and we need to keep supporting that. We need to have creativity and come up with better ideas of how we can support our city. We don't have to go to an old bag of tricks and make money for large corporations and just give a little bit of scraps to the rest of us. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me? Yes. My name is Sophia. I'm from Ward 2. So I just have to get this off my chest. There was a lady earlier who was here who was talking about her addiction to pink and shopping, which is completely different than addiction to gambling, which leads to suicide. I just had to say that. I got a couple of points to say. Number one, we have a very young population in Hamilton, especially in the downtown core. I know that there's a lot of international students, there's a lot of McMaster University students who live here. And if we have a casino, what are the odds that parents who come to the city to look for a to look at McMaster University for their children to bring them to Hamilton? As a if I was a parent, I would not do that. Number two, I'm a recent McMaster University graduate. If there was a casino, McMaster University would not be in the list of the universities that I'd be going to. Another point I just wanted to say is earlier the mayor of Brantford was talking about the benefits and the consequences of having a casino. He said that benefits outweighed consequences. Now, during his presentation, some of the benefits were infrastructure and financial gains and benefits. And the losses were losses of family losses due to addiction and the likes of it. So if it is a real problem if we're valuing infrastructure and money gain over people. That's all I want to say.
I'm sorry, I have to address that because
Come on back up to the mic.
The reason I do is it's appearing that I showed some buildings. The buildings that I showed were a university campus. The city of Brantford didn't have a university. And without the casino, we wouldn't have been able to have a university. And even with the casino in immediate proximity, we went from 39 to 3,000 students. We have 4 different institutions that actually try to get into our community. We're a leader in demonstrating downtown revitalization. And I would point this out, sort of goes with the other side of this argument with the downtown, is that casino didn't have any impact on the downtown. How we spent the casino dollars in the downtown to build post-secondary is what revitalized our downtown. That's what really did it. I can't tell you honestly that the casino would have had any impact without the university. Our downtown probably still would have been moribund. But in this situation, the dollars that we invested, and I went through the list, the percentage that are infrastructure, that are buildings, is small. We've put money into being able to attract doctors. We built a hospice, which is actually going, and we just put another $1.25 million in because they're expanding. We put money into people, percentage-wise, way more. So everybody can take shots at me about, to the community, about the presentation that we made. I'm presenting, if I had some negatives, I mean, I got the police, I asked for it, give it to me. What is it? Well, there's a direct line down. If we had it, it would be part of the presentation. The truth is that as a case study, and how we managed it, we've been very effective in Brantford as a community. And I have no difficulty with people's concerns about the relationship to the downtown or having a casino in their neighborhood. And I don't say I can't agree with the way that you're feeling about it, but we are not about buildings because I showed 3 pictures of buildings. It is about what we did with the money otherwise.
Okay. Well, this was not towards you. I was not trying to offend you. It was just that you happened to be presenting that, so I had to speak to you. As if I was a mayor, I would probably look for the money elsewhere rather than get it from the casino.
Hello, Mayor's Councilman. My name is Linda, and I'm a former resident of the former town of Flamborough. And having been on a farm there, certainly understand what is going on with this modernization of gaming and its effect on the horse industry, the racing industry in this province. And I wish that more people would understand what is going on and the effect that it is having on families and communities. My other point is I'm a proud resident of Ward 2. We live in a lovely neighborhood, and the changes that have come since I've lived there is nice to see, in the James Street and everything else. I would not want to see a casino downtown Hamilton. I think a lot of people here forget that Flamborough is Hamilton. People don't want to come, but we are. Flamborough is part of the city of Hamilton. So we do have a casino in Hamilton. That's a fact. I'd like to see it stay in Hamilton. I'd like to see it stay at Flamborough. I'd like to see Great Canadian run the casino, because they're a Canadian corporation. They're not Americans, they're Canadians. Keep Canadian money in Canada. We don't need the revenues from the casinos leaving the country. Add that to everything else. Keep the money here in Canada. I think Great Canadian will do its best to keep horse racing at Flamborough Downs, and I think that's very important. I totally realize it's probably going to change, but I still believe we will have horse racing at Flamborough Downs. That's my other point I wanted to make. I would like to know if, at the end of the day, does the city of Hamilton have the power to say to the OLG, and you have supported the casino at Flamborough, that you have the power to say this is the only place we want it, and OLG, that's where it's going to be. Do you know that?
Well, we're not really sure.
No, I think, yeah.
Because we don't know whether Great Canadian Gaming will come forward with their casino proposal that would stay at the Flamborough site. Our subcommittee meeting has OLG coming back again in the next short while to perhaps more directly address that kind of question. But the fact is that the new era of casino gambling in Ontario will be privately funded. RFPs will come forward, and OLG will select the best one. And we're not even sure that the boundary line around the Hamilton zone will stay that way. If, for instance, we say we only want a casino to stay at Flamborough, they could say, okay, we're going to make the boundary bigger and go beyond Grimsby, go up to Milton. They can do anything they want, and then see if they would get more lucrative proposals at other sites. So we can't tell you right now what the outcome is going to be.
Well, I think it's sad that that the OLG has that power.
Hi, my name's Rick. I'm a proud member of Ward 2. Mr. Friel, quite frankly, I'd love for you to move to Hamilton and run for office. For a politician to run on no and then run and win on yes and then defend it is admirable. I was very impressed with your presentation. I'm unequivocally no against a casino, and for two reasons, or two comments. One, in your cons, and I hope that somebody records this, you said, quote, "People's lives will be destroyed, if not here, someplace else." That fundamental mentality, which is not yours, is disgusting. Nobody's life should be destroyed to raise municipal funds. Secondly, Hamilton's in the jackpot, Hamilton's in, because we can't make steel at no fault of our own. And Brantford is in the jackpot they were in because they couldn't make tractors with our steel. What made this country great is we made things, we built things, we grew things. In 1971, with all kinds of pomp and circumstance, the Olympic Games were awarded to Montreal, and we instituted, to help pay for the 76 Olympics, a lottery scheme that was meant to be temporary to fund this world-class event. Temporary municipal revenue generating has turned into permanent revenue generating for our social services. It is disgusting. Hamilton could, and I challenge Hamilton, to make a JFK moment and say, we are going to be the municipality that changes government's reliability on gaming income. Find a way of keeping those farmers in business and raising funds without gaming. It's a tough order. The JFK moonshot was a tough order. I think Hamilton and Ontario and Canada can do that. We got to get rid of this ever increasing more gaming. Gaming revenue doesn't make anything, it doesn't build anything, it doesn't grow anything. It just destroys lives. And even if it's just one, it's too damn much. I hope you move to Hamilton someday and run for office.
Paul Nichols, Ward 2, Duran neighborhood. Thank you for hosting the town hall. The entire conversation's been about one thing. It's taken different forms, but effectively it's about city building. It's why we're all here. It's why we're having this discussion, and it was why all of you were elected to build the city, to make sure that we have a city that we can be proud to live in. City building isn't solely an economic undertaking, though. Revitalization, the term that keeps coming up and up, downtown revitalization is not solely an economic undertaking. It's about social development. It is about economic development. It's about environmental development. Hamilton's downtown revitalization is alive. It's healthy. And it's not being driven by gaming. It's being driven by the residents and the small businesses and the bravery of those small business owners to start something in the downtown. Clearly, a downtown casino is going to have an impact on that. And, you know, like it or not, it's a negative impact. Small business owners don't exist around the casino in downtown Windsor. Yeah, I'm a city planner by training. I take a look around whenever I go to a new city. I look around downtown Windsor by the casino. There's no small business. There's no pride of place. With all due respect to Mayor Friel, Brantford is not a poster child for downtown revitalization. I've no offense. In my years of teaching planning to undergraduates and talking to my colleagues, it's never come up. It's not that it's a bad city. It's just not. It isn't the example. It's not the example we draw on. Apologies, but just to be honest. I'm happy to look and see what I can pull out of the city. But just to be fair, so having a casino downtown isn't the thing that's going to drive revitalization. The revitalization is already going on, and that's because casinos aren't city-building institutions. Not particularly opposed to casinos across the board, but as for what they are, they're not city builders. They're entertainment centers, and perhaps they have their place. I think we've heard plenty of support for Flamborough Downs in its current setting, in the form that it currently has. But what we haven't heard is, Flamborough Downs is nice, but why don't I put it in my backyard? Why don't we put it in the downtown? Why don't we replace Art Crawl and Super Crawl with Casino Crawl? It just hasn't come up. I can only imagine why that is. I mean, I'm surely we're all looking forward to Casino Crawl. City building's about the social, the economic, and the built environment. Casinos, outside of the odd Vegas, aren't interesting environments. They're not interesting buildings. They don't inspire people to come to a downtown. Let's leave our casino where it is. Let's leave it in Flamborough Downs. It does build a city. It does support the rural portions of our community. As the councillor stated clearly early on, horse racing is part of rural Hamilton, and there is a rural Hamilton. And I'll leave it so that Mayor, so that you're not left alone. I'll kind of finish. I think the other thing that we've seen is that despite Councillor Farr's phone poll, there seems to be a clear concern related to the social and economic impacts related to a downtown casino, and there's really clearly no substantial taste for a downtown casino. I certainly appreciate every effort that Councillor Farr that you've made towards it, and the only reason I pick on the phone poll is because it's something that's currently come up. Look at the last few federal elections and how accurate they were. It's one of these technological and social changes that's making kind of measuring community opinion very difficult. But clearly, when you take away that phone poll, and from what we heard tonight, there's not a real taste for it. So let's leave it where it is. Let's support it where it is, and let's continue the revitalization of downtown Hamilton in the way that we've already done it, by supporting local downtown residents, by supporting those small businesses and small business owners, and let's not rush to change a model that's working. That's all I'm asking. Thank you.
I stopped using the word robo after the film shoot left James Street North. Some may have noticed that I changed the way we were calling our phone poll previous to this week. It's actually an automated call and not a robo call, I found. And since we're on the survey, tonight's casino town hall vote, the tallies are in. Do you support a casino locating in downtown Hamilton? From the crowd here this evening, 38 said yes and 103 said no. And I don't think anybody's Do you support a casino locating elsewhere in Hamilton? 34 said yes and 84 said no. That's a little more surprising. Okay.
Councillor Farr, Mayor Bertrina, I applaud your efforts at engaging the community. I know the OLG has put tight timelines on you and put you in a difficult position. A decision that was going to be difficult at the best of times only made more difficult because of the timelines that the OLG has put on you. So good for you, and good for everybody that stood up tonight and made their positions known. I know a lot of people aren't real comfortable at a microphone, myself included, so I prepared a statement. My name is Brian Tropey. I'm the General Manager of the Ontario Harness Horse Association. As the largest racehorse association in Ontario, we represent lots of horse people that live here in Hamilton. I'm here tonight to voice the concerns of our members that live in Hamilton over the provincial gaming modernization plan. As you're probably aware, in the late 90s, the government of the day was looking to increase revenues to the province and proposed to build casinos across Ontario. A referendum was held on the issue with the majority of Ontarians opposed to the idea. As racetracks were already in the gaming business and would not require municipal zoning changes, government came to the industry and asked to place slot machines at our facilities. It was clear that the only places that the slots could be installed were at racetracks that were in existence at the time that the implementation. Knowing that a new form of gaming in the racetrack facility would cannibalize the existing traditional revenues from horse racing, but understanding the government's needs to increase the provincial revenue, the industry negotiated a revenue-sharing agreement, the proceeds from the net win on slot machines shared with the horse racing industry. This agreement met with the approval of all three provincial parties. The Slots at Racetrack program has been a huge success over the last 14 years. The agreement has provided profits of approximately $1 billion a year for the provincial government, monies that were used to fund health care, education, and other vital services. The negotiated revenue-sharing arrangement has allowed racing to prosper, and it currently employs approximately 60,000 people and contributes over $2.6 billion annually into the economic activity. Everyone was a winner in the model. The government created jobs in the gaming industry and received the bulk of the profits. The host municipalities, such as Hamilton, shared in the revenue to offset increased infrastructure costs, and the horse racing industry prospered and grew to be a world leader. If there were concerns about the revenue-sharing agreement, they were never communicated. In fact, the government spoke glowingly about the successful partnership, and in fact, I just extended the last terms of the agreements with racetrack operators, which offered assurances to the horse people that the revenue-sharing would continue. Without any warning or consultation, the program was abruptly ended. The revenue sharing with the industry will end on March 31st, 2013. People have invested all of their life savings into an industry that will no longer exist. Let me be clear, if the Council approves of a casino in this gaming zone without assurances that the operator will continue to share revenue with the horse racing industry, it will result in the end of horse racing in this area. Those jobs will be lost. People's investments in property, horses, and equipment will be devalued, and one of the largest sectors of agriculture in Hamilton will cease to exist. Government has told the industry to stand on its own. After using our facilities to allow gaming to become socially acceptable, they now want to compete rather than partner. The problem with that is they make the rules. They decide what gaming options are available. While developing new products to sell to consumers for the benefit of the province, horse racing is limited to only allow betting on horse races. There is no way that any industry can survive, never mind flourish, under these circumstances. The OLG have been very aggressive in rolling out the new modernization plan. Why? Because they're fearful that the people of this province feel the same way now about gaming expansion as they did in the late 1990s. They need to force cities and municipalities to make quick decisions before allowing the members of these communities to have their say. We ask, why the rush? Why destroy a proven successful partnership which has allowed the horse racing industry to become the second largest sector in agriculture, instead of simply working with that industry to expand and become even more profitable into the future? We have gaming in Hamilton, gaming that provides jobs both in the gaming industry as well as preserving jobs and investments in rural Hamilton. We ask Council to be mindful in future negotiations of the impact that their decisions will have on the horse racing industry.
My name is John Hawker. I'm a Ward 2 resident for close to 10 years. I may win the prize for being the shortest. First, a clarification. It's my understanding that if it is awarded to Flamborough, that OLG will allow the manager, the organization, to move it after 5 years. Is that correct?
We do have Norm.
And therefore, it could be moved right downtown.
Fair question. Norm, were you able to answer that one? Again, Norm Schlehan is with our planning department, and he is our OLG rep on in City Hall. Staff contact.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm not aware of that point, but I can clarify that.
I believe that is correct. But at any rate, it seems as if that is a movable situation, and therefore it could be dumped downtown. Secondly, and by the way, that might just time in with some hotel that might be built. Who knows? Secondly, on a personal note, two very close relatives of mine. One received a very generous, well over $50,000 settlement after the spouse died in a work-related situation, and a generous pension, work pension after that. That $80,000, oh, I shouldn't have mentioned. But anyway, that money disappeared in the gambling casinos within 3 years. And that person then had to move in with us, or moved in with us for 2.5 years, getting things together. Another lost the house. And I've known of others. It's not, it's not genetic. It's not in our family. But it just happens. And I know it's happened to others. And it's devastating. And we don't need one. I know of two. I bet that if you had included in your ballot, do you know of others who have been devastated, destroyed, whatever, you would have found. But, you know, next time, maybe ask that. Thanks.
Okay, I just want to say to our final two speakers, you both already this evening made comments, and you're still welcome to do so. But if we can keep them short, only because we have an opportunity and some councillors and the mayor and others on the panel. Also, I want to do a formal thank you to all the folks and go over a few things as well. So I probably went longer than you're about to go, just trying to explain that to you, so go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Farr. Okay, I'm not going to talk about my personal problems. I'm going to talk about the OLGC. It used to be the corporation. It cost $25 million to take the C off people's all of the stationery, all the little things that they had. It's $25 million that could have gone somewhere else. The OLG, as far as I can see, I've been watching them for 14 years, and they are it's like the Vatican in Rome. They are industry and a group unto themselves. They make their own rules. Smoking, for instance, there is no smoking in Niagara Falls, but you can smoke in the casino. That was at that one point in time. They have done so many things that are so wrong, and I would disagree with you, Mayor, so much. I'm sorry. I mean, downtown, okay, it's not downtown. I take the bus downtown, and it takes me 5 minutes to walk to Brantford Casino, okay? So don't tell me it's not downtown, sir. And all of this other stuff. I'm sorry, when you were talking, I thought, man, this is excellent propaganda. And it's really, you know, I think this guy believes it. And I also think maybe, you know, because I've looked after trying to find the fiscal money where the OLG, I've been getting their annual reports, trying to find out where the money goes. I can't find it after a certain point in time. Okay, this is a dangerous, dangerous group of people. people. They're like the military. You cannot, the left hand does not know what the right hand is doing. They have 1,000,000 1-800 numbers, and I have self-trespassed myself, and I have now got to go to court in Brantford on the 24th of October, and the OPP now tell me, because I've been charged twice before for trespassing, because the pixel recognition, facial recognition is not working, and they don't have it at Casino Niagara or Fallsview because it's a privately owned situation. So I was told that I would be protected from my gambling addiction with the pixel recognition. Well, it doesn't work. So anyways, I'm going to go to court, and the OPP told me that I will be banned from Brantford. I can go along the 403, and I can access, if I have an accident or something, hospitals and fire department, but that's it. And I'm going to be banned from your city. And you know what? Thank God. Thank God.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. One final speaker. Thank you very much to all who have come up. Please be brief. There's just a few, and we were going to finish right on time. Thank you.
Okay, I just have one thing to say. Quite recently in the Review, Don McLean wrote an article about taxation in Hamilton. So the highest income tax or property tax would be the industrial sector, which we know have been wiped out. But it boggles my mind that companies like Walmart, the old Tabasco, and so on down the line just got a 50% tax break on the backs of the residents, the working poor, and the entire working class of this city. So please, as I said before, it's the corporate world that is the beast that we are all fighting. So please go after them. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to our staff. Norm, really appreciate you coming in. You proved to be useful, as I knew you would. To our Ward 2 staff, Ryan and Maureen, thank you for all of the work in prep and during. Also from Ward 3, Nick Westall, the executive assistant to Councillor Morelli. And with that, a few more thank yous in a moment. We have Councillor Pasuta, Councillor Morelli, and Mayor Bertina, and we also have about 7 minutes. So I have to offer you one more time an opportunity, particularly Councillor Morelli and Mayor Bertina, an opportunity to say a few words and express some thoughts.
I'll be brief. That was a wonderful night. I really appreciated the input. There's nothing like meeting people face to face and hearing directly their comments. I also want to thank Mayor Friel for his presentation tonight. This is exceptional to have someone who has lived through the experience, such as you described, and present your facts in the way that you did to us. I will tell you that I have no final conclusion on the matter. We have more information to gather before council is in a position, I think, to make a decision. But certainly, thanks everyone for coming out and joining us tonight. It was a great night. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And on that gathering of information and the input, and it's two-pronged, as noted in your meeting that you chair the casino subcommittee. It was asked earlier this evening. I don't know if we confirmed the answers. So Norm did say, and you know, Mr. Chair, that future meetings of the casino subcommittee will be held in this room and will be live streamed. So that individual that asked that question, there's your answer. Councillor Morelli from Ward 3. Jay,
first of all, I want to thank community, number one, obviously, and for coming tonight to express their opinions. Obviously, this matter is of pretty critical importance, and certainly I personally can tell you that my position is that which is reflected by what council has done to date, and certainly I have no strong personal appetite for casinos, but obviously want to be here tonight to hear further opinion. So I want to thank community, and I want to thank you for bringing this event together. And of course, Mayor Friel, God bless you. I was really pleased to hear that you were coming tonight, knowing that you had experience and you were prepared to share it openly with us, and certainly not to go away with any sense of offense. You know, it's one planner in the world, and you have to deal with that once in a while. So I want to also tell you that for those that continue to have an opinion about this issue, you should not hesitate to bring it to our attention at City Hall, either through an email or phone call, And we will be continuing to look at polls, as I understand it, in public meetings, so I'm looking forward to that. Thanks very much.
Thank you for being here, Councillor. Councillor McHattie as well, with his residence and attendance. Councillor Pasuta, your comments were appropriate and much appreciated. And if you had any other closing comment, you sure? So big thanks, I think. One more time, applause for our two keynote speakers, Rachel and Mayor Friel, please. Thank you, all of you, for coming. You can catch, thank you. So you know that we have 4 cameras. We did record all of this. Within the next few hours, I'm told, we'll be able to watch it on YouTube, and you can watch it on jasonfarr.com. It'll stay on the homepage for a while. I'm not plugging the website, but I guess I'm plugging the website. But it's a great tool. You look back, and please tell your friends and neighbors, for those who missed it live, they can have an opportunity to watch it again. Thanks again, everybody. Really appreciate you coming.
Make sure you put your name.